Voices strong, breaking every peak. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness and fight all day. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave. Politics and prayers, ain't no subject
Ready?
to show.
Clap.
Keep it real.
I guess I don't necessarily think it's necessary. Everybody thinks that. Evan thinks that's the funniest
I
thing.
think it's fucking great.
Heard you were clapping cheeks this weekend. Cheesecake Factory.
Cheesecake Factory, not clapping cheeks,
Just going to eat food.
It was
Just
clapping
food.
cheesecakes.
in
Eat
my
food.
mouth.
Making out.
Yeah, I just made out a little bit.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Where's she from?
Pittsburgh.
She drove all the way out here just to eat lunch with you or dinner with you?
Yeah.
And then she went home?
Yeah, she literally drove home. I offered to buy her a hotel. We could see she could come out to Thursdays, and she's like, "No, I want to go straight. I want to go back home to my dogs."
You were that unimpressive.
Oh,
She's like, this was such a shitty
Wow.
date. This was such a shitty date. Really, you thought you were going to impress me with Cheesecake Factory? I'm just going to drive back to Pittsburgh.
No, she chose the Cheesecake Factory. She chose it.
So it was all you then. It wasn't even the food. She got catfished, huh?
Hey, you know what? I've known her for a long time. She's seen me multiple times.
Yeah, I bet she saw you.
She sees more.
All right. Don't got a lie to kick it. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Guys Night Podcast. We're now at episode 34, I believe, so making our way towards 100. As always, with me is David. What's happening, dude?
What's happening, guys? Good to see you.
Wow, that was like a long-winded introduction.
I know. Usually I'm like, hi.
And then I've got Evan to my right. How's it going, Evan?
What's going on? No clapping cheeks right now.
What?
No clapping cheesecakes.
No,
Evan made it
cheesecakes.
uncomfortable because he just got called out.
Yeah,
that he was less impressive on a first date, that his date would rather drive 2.5 hours home afterwards. So
I tried to smell his fingers when he showed up. He wouldn't let me.
probably because they were in his own asshole.
Probably so.
No, it's cheesecake.
Well, that or he probably wasn't that impressed with her Adam's apple.
Oh my god, he's watched the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have
Just you gotta make sure you're talking close to the mic, otherwise no one's gonna be able to hear the
gotcha.
quick remarks.
Oh, you mother.
Anyhow, all right, so let's get into tonight. Tonight we're gonna talk about working with wood, and obviously
you're working with.
Evan's not working with any wood. But joining me is Brian Cashel. Welcome, brother. How you doing?
Hey, thanks, man. Good to see you again.
Make sure you get a little closer to that mic so people can actually hear what you're talking about. But Brian, just tell us a little about yourself, what you've been doing, and how what you're doing right now.
Been a carpenter for 36 years. Took a couple spills on selling cars where I met Will at. So got back into carpentry and have my own business on the side. Work for a company, and I started woodworking about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did the hair get lost before the car business or after? I feel like you had more hair the last time I saw you.
I did. It's gotten thin, trust me. So it's gotten real thin. So yeah.
That age is a bitch.
It is a bit, and the turn of white that blends into the scalp, So
All right, and then I've also got Trey and Chris. Trey, you want to go first? Just tell us about yourself.
Yeah. Well, I was actually, my background is in IT.
Okay.
Until I had a heart attack. Basically kind of put me in early retirement there for that. Then I started doing woodworking. It was a lot less stressful. So it's something that me and my wife can do together, and it's not so bad.
Right on.
And with my buddy Chris, we kind of put some things down there. We help him out. He helps us out. So it kind of works out pretty decently.
Cool.
I actually met Chris, interesting story. He was my CCD teacher when I was in Catholic education back. I was in 3rd grade.
Oh wow, no kidding.
Yeah. It's been a pretty wild ride since for him.
So did he teach
You
you to
should
work
stop
with wood?
talking right now.
So in 3rd grade, he taught you how to work with wood.
Well, actually, no. He was just we ended up connecting back at that point because that's something that he's pretty much into, and we've taken different paths. I'm more rock and roll, and he's a little bit more milder.
Yeah.
But
That's cool. You guys get to bring it together now.
Yep. It's not so bad.
All right, and then Chris, just tell us a little about yourself. Obviously, I didn't expect that to be what you guys. So IT had no clue that was coming. Look forward to talking a little bit more about that and what that entailed. And then Chris, you from
My background's HR.
Yeah.
Human remains. Did that for like 10 years and jumped ship and did something I wanted to do, which was something with my hands, something tangible. Friend of mine had a barrel in his basement. It was all in pieces. Said, help me get it to the curb. I kept it, put it in my garage and put it back together and, stained, finished it and made a cabinet out of it. And he wanted it back. We're still friends.
How much did you sell it back to him for?
I still have it.
Oh, you just kept it. Hey,
Anyway,
quick
long
observation. I just want to say I'm excited to see you guys all have your fingers.
Yeah, congratulations.
Right?
Are you actually a woodworker though? If you still have all 10 of your fingers, or did you not graduate quite
Well,
yet?
we're working on graduation now, so
Crystal Clinic sews that shit back on.
my 8th grade woodshop teacher, Mr. Bezerski, was heavy Polish accent and everything. I grew up in California, so weren't many Polacks out there. A lot of Polak jokes, but yeah, and he was the one. He was missing somehow his ring finger on his right hand. Everything else was intact. So, but woodworking accident.
That's common.
Yeah,
Ring finger is common.
Well, nowadays, though, a lot of the tools have all the safety shit on them, so it's kind of harder to
He's
do.
got them.
Yeah.
He's got the tools.
Yeah.
So the saw stop. That's
Not
the big one.
that anybody's looking forward to doing that, but I'll tell you what, I bet you we've all had some
Push that
pretty
mic
wicked.
closer.
We've had some pretty wicked splinters though that you wish you would have cut the damn thing off.
Well, so I just thought it'd be an interesting topic. Like I said, I came across your company when we were visiting the Common Grounds in Medina, and we're actually looking to have Mike Brock on hopefully in the near future, who oversees that whole aspect. But it's a cool idea, vintage old factory that they've kind of turned into like a, I don't know, like almost a farmer's market, but
Like a
type
flea
feel,
market.
like a flea market.
Yeah.
And you've got a bunch of different companies, kind of like yourselves, that are in there dabbling. And I'm assuming the rent's not too bad because there's so many of you guys in there, and they're only open on the weekends, which is a great way to kind of get that business started.
Absolutely.
So tell us, how did that partnership come into, where you're like, hey, this is an opportunity? What made you decide to get, a retail front?
Well, in reality, we've always looked to expand for the Oak Barrel Company. And he was down in Berlin. And Berlin, the problem is in Berlin is it's a lot of tourists. And a lot of times they're not really looking for furniture. A lot of times they do come back, don't get me wrong. But it's like, try to find another spot that's kind of a more happening area. Mm-hmm. Well, Medina is kind of that spot that we had intended. And then when the Common Ground came available, it's like, you know what? We should do that. I just think that's a step more forward in the right direction. Unlike, he's got his website and Etsy, and it's just another marketing spot in reality. Because in reality, people have better taste in Medina than some of the other places, you could be.
Per capita incomes.
Yeah, as you say, income and spending money on things like signs and stuff like that. It's probably
They're
more.
looking for the deal in Amish country, the
Right.
dollar value.
Well, and that's so. I want to get into Brian's story too a little bit, but I did want to talk to you guys about that. We joked a little bit about the show, before the show, though. It being in Amish country as two non-Amish people trying to sell woodworking is not like an easy task.
Well,
I would
here's
imagine.
the thing, though. You're right. But a lot of those people nowadays, though, some of them just get a lot of the stuff from China.
Yeah.
A lot of the Amish don't do Amish stuff.
Oh, they're not even creating their own stuff
Some
out
they're
there?
not. I mean,
Nine.
And then there's even some of them that are selling bootleg cigarettes even.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So the Amish has got a racket going on there. It's
yeah.
like the mob out there.
Yes, it is. They're pretty, they can be a little
layers.
different.
Yeah. Pull that mic. I don't know how we can get it. Just there you go. I want to be able to make sure we can pull it in. I'll fit you with the
got you.
audio so it's
No
good.
problem.
But
Sibilants.
so what? I mean, who started it first? Who was?
He did.
So you had something going already in Berlin area?
Yeah.
And for those that know, Berlin, Ohio is like Amish country capital.
He was part of it
Ohio.
early on too, though. He helped me unload from the very beginning.
Okay.
The trailer loads of barrels.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
those
So
suck.
yeah, I can imagine. So what did you guys start with? You mentioned barrels a couple of times. Did you guys start with refinishing barrels then for the most
Absolutely. That's the majority of it is made. Everything is entirely made out of a barrel.
Had a former life, but barrel is key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Two kinds of barrels, bourbon, wine, and in wine there's two sizes of barrels. But I learned more about it by default
Yeah.
in the last 25 years than you could have learned by wine or bourbon if you picked up a book, you know. But,
Yeah, of course.
but,
What is that? I mean, so is everything that you guys make in general from barrels then?
So-
is that where you guys is all your
Majority,
work?
probably, I want to say, his aspect of it, his side of it is probably 98% all barrels.
Okay.
My stuff is very limited unless he needs a hand making something else. Then I will make it.
personalized, and he has a CNC and a router plotter and all kinds of really finishing tools that help me and aid me in my presentation.
endeavors,
Like,
yeah.
So essentially, like if you see right now the big thing is like they have the barrel top, right? Like the top 4 inches or whatever
Mm-hmm.
for a wall. So you're doing the refinishing on the barrel, you're trimming it up, making it look nice, and then you're taking it to him maybe to do the engraving on the top.
artwork,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And the artwork, and actually, Brian, you just started doing this recently, correct?
Yeah,
Doing
yeah.
something similar with
Yep.
this. This is like a new craze, I assume, as far as in woodworking, is a lot of people starting to use with engraving and things like that.
Laser engraving. Yeah, I just got a CNC machine, small one. I'm getting it set up now to use it and everything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And are you limited to what those engrave on, or those? I mean,
It
because we're
depends.
talking woodworking, but
Well, it depends. I mean, we have multiple types of lasers, and there's different chemicals you can use to do on any of them.
Mm-hmm.
In reality,
Metal.
glass, wood, slate. Pretty much, we can pretty much do anything on anything. We're not limited because
Yeah.
we have
He
diode
got
lasers and CO2 lasers.
well, yeah, I was just gonna say. So Brian actually brought a couple of these pieces of slate over as like little cup holders for the show. So thank you
Now,
for that, brother.
what does
but
it-
are these done as a? These are done on a CNC machine.
No,
then?
laser engraver.
These
Those
are
are
on
my
a
laser
laser
engraver.
engraver.
Yeah. Yep.
And what's the difference between a laser engraver and the
A
CNC?
laser engraver will go basically, it pivots on its XY. Its Z is fixed. So basically it just goes ahead and goes back and forth on a laser engraver. Now a CNC will go down. That's where the Z goes back and forth, and it all goes left to right, up and back and forward, and it just keeps kind of pivoting the Z head.
Gotcha.
And like a 3D printer is similar, except it works from the bottom and works its way to the top. A CNC works its way from the top down to the bottom.
So in this instance, obviously it's just lasered on, etched onto the top
Yes,
of the
yes,
slate.
just let shine. Yep.
But what you guys are saying with the CNC is that's where you start to give things like a 3D appearance,
Yeah,
right?
a CNC is like almost like carving, but with a router bit and everything. It do layers and stuff like that. It's,
Yep.
it's pretty cool setup. So
So do you do that off of a design, like any computer design that you can essentially do that with, or is there limitations to it?
Well, yes and no. You're really only limited to your software. All CNCs basically do everything the same. The only difference is some have automatic tool change, some of them are faster, some of them are bigger.
Gotcha.
I mean, but you're just pretty much limited to your software and your imagination. That's kind of the downside to it. And then you can, like when we do inlays, we've done inlays in big tables. Some company
Harley
logos that
Davidson,
we're not
real
really
big.
going to say a whole lot about because of,
Yeah, of course.
For the customer,
Right,
Yeah,
right,
but
right, right.
we-
not for resale.
but we've done quite a bit of that. I mean, so it just depends as to what you want to do with it. And patience is key because it doesn't always fit. That's why I believe actually in schools, woodworking should be a language art because you come up with a lot of interesting language.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's funny that you bring up schooling in general when it comes to this, though, because we're big proponents of the Career Center.
Sure.
Is this something, and I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the Career Center, is this something that they're starting to dabble in with the Career Centers, or have you guys heard?
Some of them I've heard that Cloverleaf is actually going back to their woodworking because a lot of them kind of got away
Yeah.
from it, probably due to liability, I
Sure.
would assume.
Well, and kids today are a lot dumber.
Well, it's just, you know, I just think
They don't want to do anything that takes any extra effort.
That too.
That's
Yeah,
it, yeah,
a
yeah.
combination of both of those. It's like common sense goes out the window. Like, oh, I'm just gonna put my hand on this saw. Oh, that's sharp, and it just cut my hand off.
Yeah.
How would it know?
Exactly.
but the downside to that is, though,
Did you get that on TikTok?
and the downside to some of that is, though, is nowadays the saws, like my saw stop, if you touch it and it goes, it throws a break into it. I mean,
really?
you're going to suffer a paper cut. But you're talking hundreds of dollars to reset it every time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the downside to it.
It's got an electric brake on it. It
Breaking it.
stops instantly. You got to replace the brake. You got to replace the blade, and then reset it up and everything.
So you'd rather lose the finger.
Well, yeah, no, exactly.
Almost, yeah.
Pretty
10
much,
years
yeah.
ago, 10 years, yeah. I mean, no.
I mean,
Yeah,
for the
right.
price of it, yeah, that's it's the downside to it because it's kind of cool to watch them do it. If you've never seen it, it's pretty cool. And then there's even some guys that are brave enough to use a finger to see if it's gonna stop.
I'm not that brave.
No, I'm not either.
I'm not
no.
that brave either. I don't even want to. 'Cause
I'll let them use the hot dogs on
Yeah,
it.
yeah, and that's just it. And even then, man, I think if I was to do it, I'd probably shit my pants.
Right?
trying to do it.
Because it's a big force that
Yeah.
stops that. I mean,
Yeah.
you figure that blade's rotating that fast and it stops instantly.
The saw jars.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, it jumps. Yeah.
That's crazy. It's funny you say that though. So when I first started selling cars back in like 05, the big thing was the Dodge Caravans and the Chrysler Town and Countries had the gas-filled air tubes that were alongside the door. So like a big selling point was always like, oh, you know, and if your kids accidentally, and you like the parents would all be like, oh my god, and then it would close on your door, and then it opens back up, or in your hand, and it opens up automatically. Like I would love it.
Until it doesn't.
The old people loved it, right? And, but yeah, it's a little different than a saw. But there was the first couple of times I did it, I was like, should I just? Then I was pot committed after that, and I still got all my fingers.
Yeah, that's. You just got to watch because, I mean, some of the saws do, some of them don't. But going back to the kids nowadays, you can't get them off the phone long enough.
Yeah.
to-
Yeah. Well, so now, Brian, from you, like I said, I know you from when you came and worked for me selling cars.
Yeah.
And then before that, you were in construction nonstop.
Yeah.
Went back to running your own company, I think, for a while.
Yep.
At what point were you like, hey, I can do something else with my time and be profitable? Are you just doing this full time now?
No, I'm just doing it part time. My goal, my website launches in a couple weeks. My goal is in the next 5 to 7 years to do it full time. I'm working for a company now, construction, running this cruise for them, and running my own small business on the side, plus the woodworking. I saw a YouTube video, made my wife a cutting board, a chevron pattern cutting board for Christmas one year, and I posted on Facebook just showing people. I sold 12 of them. And I was building actually a 8-unit condo building in Vermilion. I was superintendent on the job, and the Amish were framing it. They bought 7 of them.
No kidding.
Yeah, the Amish bought 7. I'm like, man, if I
that's
sell them to the
great. Yeah,
Amish,
yeah,
then
that's
I'll do a pretty
good.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it started from there. Now I'm in 3 different boutiques. I'm in one in Vermilion called Robinson Family Soaps and More. I'm in Cherry Blossom Boutique in Sheffield Lake and Talents Boutique in Avon Lake. Sell my wares in there and everything. And then I do craft and art shows and everything. And like I said, my website's going to be launched the next week or two. And I'm trying to move more into furniture. I built smaller tables like buffet tables, coffee tables, end tables. I dab with epoxy in the tables, live edge small tables. No full size tables. My shop's just too small right now till I get the website going, start getting some more. So I can move into a bigger shop. Sure. But right now it's just the smaller tables and the cutting boards, engraving. Getting more into engraving and epoxy. Because the cutting boards, as you know, is pre-saturated right now,
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of
it's
stuff
hard
out there.
to. I mean, you look on Etsy, and there's 275,000 listings for cutting boards on Etsy. So it's hard to get cutting boards. And I at my shows, people are like, oh, they're beautiful. I already have 4 of them. You know,
Yeah.
it's just so that's why I'm getting more into the laser engraving, the epoxy, and things like that.
I think when you get into that saturated market, and I wouldn't know, right? Because I don't do that, but I think that you have to have like a niche when it comes to it, you know, like, I don't know, something like, because right now, obviously, and we talk about all the time, smoking is like a big thing. So like the bigger cup boards where you can actually throw on a 20-pound brisket when you trim it up, and having a way to do that. But then at some point in time, you kind of have to make that customizable, which is a little bit more difficult to do when you're trying to take orders and build a company as well.
Absolutely.
And then shipping too is a big part.
Yeah,
like I've shipped a big brisket board to Kentucky, and someone bought a large cutting board to make bread with out in Arizona. And to ship to Arizona, that board's $100 to ship it.
Wow.
You know, so you got to add that on the top of on the price of the board and everything, and you got to have the right clientele to say, well, I'm willing to pay that $100 extra to ship it across the country.
Yeah,
you know?
well, and I imagine too that's where it takes into like having different types of relationships with some of these shipping companies, because you see all the time where people have free shipping when they're sending, and that'll kill a small business that's trying to get started.
Sure. Well, the only thing is that I'd like to say that the market is saturated with cutting boards. But in reality, you probably should replace your cutting board every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the.
You got to get people to understand that, though. You know, so
I mean,
because it's wood. It's a
great,
natural. It's a natural product.
But
So.
you should, even with all the chemicals and the different stuff that they have out today, you still should, just as a safety concern.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, it's like sometimes I've seen people use red oak, and a lot of time red oak, the way their fibers are, they have little tubes. Well, it's kind of hard to get everything down into them little tubes, and then you get shit growing
Bacteria
in there.
growing in there and stuff.
And it's just not a good idea.
That's good to know, because that's the hard part when you're looking at a custom cutting board or chop block is you're like, man, I'm gonna spend $200-$300. How long is it gonna last?
Well, see, that's why I wouldn't spend that kind of money. You can still make them. And see, that's kind of the point, that David's talking about with the engraving. You can make it look amazing, and then this way you can switch it up every couple of years, and they're not too pricey. Man, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, the bigger you go, the brisket boards. I mean, there's a lot of work in those and everything, and you're getting a 24 by 36 or 24 by 24 board. I mean, that's a lot of work. And then of course the price goes up because the material goes. One thing with hardwoods right now, they're not cheap.
No.
I mean, I go out to Middlefield, Amish country, to get my lumber from a lumber sawmill out there because. It's worth driving an hour and 20 minutes to save the money I'm saving from getting it, locally. There's actually a guy in Medina here that I started using. He's an older gentleman, has a nice sawmill in his backyard. He's got great prices. I started using him lately. So
I think I know who you're talking about. Actually, we talked about redoing our table and having more of a different setup from the table. And I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I actually reached out to him about some of his live edge and stuff like that, because he'll sell it to you untouched, or he'll actually
he'll make it, and he'll make it too. So
yep. And that's another side of art. You guys deal with live edge at all as well?
Oh, absolutely. We kind of deal with a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So did you guys come up, because you guys are doing this full time now, right? Like you guys don't do anything else.
No.
So did you go through the same? Were you able to
Double time, actually.
double time?
Yeah, my OnlyFans didn't pan out.
I could have helped you with that.
What part?
The photos. That's it.
My feet, that's my retirement.
There you go.
He's got a feet 01K.
Yeah, speed 1K. Well, I've never seen you without shoes on. That's because I'm protecting these for OnlyFans and retirement. Lotion in the morning, lotion in the night. I only put bamboo socks on, and
they got them silicone socks now for moisturizer. So,
Steel toe Nike.
So, were you guys fortunate enough to where you're able to dabble in it, or you said you kind of had a heart attack force you from retirement? Did you guys have to just give it and just commit and struggle, or how
Stages. Similar. So consignment to different wine stores was my target market. So a couple different wine stores, then commission stuff from there. Hey, would you make me one? Just like the first guy. Then from there you do shows, and for sure, for advice now looking back, any show that's like not been in existence for 25 years plus, probably gonna be not your return for what you're looking for.
your time.
yeah, and I'm finding that out now. Yeah,
Right,
I'm actually in a
right.
show coming up.
They're fun, but you
they're
gotta
fun,
have
but
return.
yeah, I get commissioned items from shows more than I sell anything at shows.
Yep.
Because I always make sure I got business cards out there, and you got to be engaging to the customer. You don't just want to sit back. You see somebody just sit back. You got to get out there and talk to them.
Yeah.
To tell them, we do this and we do this. I have a photo album on my tables that has my tables and stuff on it that shows I don't just do cutting boards, engraving. I do tables and buffet tables, live edge and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Next step after that is small space, like Common Ground, and or retail space. I did it kind of backwards. I went straight to the retail space, been there for 9 years, but it's off the beaten path. It's definitely not on the main drag. In a town that gets 4 million visitors a year.
Really, is there that many people?
More than
visit?
Cedar Point. Actually, as much as Cedar Point.
Yeah.
As much. Cedar Point's 4.5 now or something like that. But Berlin gets 4, solid 4.
And I know even the Amish out there operate kind of some off the beaten path little shops and stuff
absolutely.
like that you go in.
Absolutely.
But you know,
Microeconomy. It's fastest growing microeconomy right now.
that's crazy.
Probably even
But
more
those-
than the United States even.
But before you did go with Berlin though, you had the hangar in Smithville where he did do a lot of displays. We used to do a lot of displays for a lot of distilleries.
Yeah.
Different market, but yes, and commission too. They would see stuff there and go, "Hey, that's nice," or you can do that? Can you do this too? So you want to say yes,
Yeah, of course. And I
even
could,
if you can't.
Yeah. You can watch YouTube and learn how.
Right. By the end of it, you'll be an expert.
sink 24 hours of your day.
Yeah,
your
right.
week
This is
into
the fourth
a
one,
YouTube
man.
video.
Right.
Well, it's interesting too because you know we talked about CNC machines, and I'm sure you guys are probably starting to dabble in AI at some point with some of the stuff you do, whether it's creating
Yeah,
designs.
some of it we deal with. Not a lot yet. It's just because that's kind of that tried and true, and it's always hard to figure out what a customer wants. They want this, and you can make everything out of every color, and they still want something completely different.
Right.
So it's just even with AI, can't match natural stupidity.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Well, but at the same point in time, if someone says, "Well, I want to somehow create this with my military background, with my family, and with this," and you can throw it into AI, and it'll kind of give you some design offers without having to rack your brain for ideas.
It could. It depends. Generally, when it comes to the military stuff, you got to watch because that stuff is also copyrighted.
Of course.
Which we still kind of do anyhow because it's for a veteran.
Sure.
Yeah.
Bend over backwards for a veteran. Don't really care what the rules are.
Right, right.
And that's just kind of how it goes. But most of the time, they're always pretty well cut and dry. Chris is generally the one with the creative brain. He's the one he can figure it out, make it look just awesome.
Yeah.
Where I'm more put foot to ass kind of scenario.
Fair enough.
That's the way it goes.
Well, somebody's got to be the boots on ground,
That's
and
it.
someone's got to have the vision. So it's
That's
good that
it.
you guys are kind of working that together from a different angle, and it probably helps you kind of both kind of stay on task and motivated too when you guys are seeing things from a different angle. I'd imagine. Because when Brian comes home, it's really just him, and he's got to rack ideas off his brain. He's got
I'll
to figure
shoot.
it
My
out.
wife gives me good ideas, and she
Does she?
comes up with stuff. Yeah, I'll tell her. Like I'm making a couple tables now for display. I'm like, what should I, where should I go with this? Because I've made all the small tables, and she told me, well, why don't you make this? Why don't you make a matching pair of them? So that's, so I bounce things off her a lot. She's a godsend to me with her and her knowledge and her imagination and being a woman too.
Yeah.
So
No bad ideas.
exactly. At least I don't tell her there are.
Not great idea. Not right now.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So it's funny because we live in a day and age where like signs have become a popular thing, right? Like, and they're everywhere, and they could be from $5 to $20, and there's so many Chinese knockoffs and all those different things. But it's what people want.
Yeah.
Trendy.
Yes, very trendy, and that farmhouse is kind of like still in style, probably for the next
Clicky
5-6
too.
years.
Really clicky.
Yes.
Clicky too. Wines related stuff that you're in a wine clique or you're in a bourbon clique. So we make a sign that's Bourbon Buddies and Bourbon Bros.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Another one that's Wine Peeps.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
But that's the flip side of that, though, is Chris likes to keep it all pretty nice and clean. And I like to get dirty and nasty with my signs.
I mean, there's
Goes
nothing
over
wrong
real
with
well
that.
in Amish country, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Wait, does dirty do well in Amish country?
No.
I would
Actually,
imagine
yeah,
that. He said no.
It's actually pretty funny. A lot of that stuff that I do is pretty funny, and Kelly does too. And Chris is like, I don't
goes
know.
with-
Like
It
no
goes good in-
electricity, might as well fuck.
After 14 kids, it wasn't from anything in the water.
Here, eat this. Smile.
But I said bourbon and wine, so I'm associated with a lady. She has a wine and whiskey tasting classes. She'll go to either country clubs or people's houses and do whiskey tasting and wine tasting, bourbon tasting. So I make small signs on boards for her, all engraved glasses and stuff, and coats like the Angels Envy one. So all engraved coasters and stuff for her, and she sells them there, and then I get the commission off of them. So.
Sure. Well, and you're getting your name out there.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
something else too. I don't know, but Chris also come up with a Fumi. If you guys are interested in trying a snort of something, he's got the Fumi with it. If you guys
what?
ever tried that?
So this was something that we came up with. It's not furniture. but it's a bigger worm on the hook, if you will. So it's made from my scrap, which I have a lot of different scrap. We haven't talked about the different
So
bourbon.
is it kind of like an art piece slash like?
This is, I actually do some art too. I do some
Okay,
big one-off
okay.
stuff, and that's great. But this was like for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you don't like my furniture, it's not everybody's cup of tea, you know, something like this. But anyway, long story. It's made with my scrap from a Jim Beam bourbon barrel originally. Now we have a couple different flavors. But anyway, I saw someone doing it 2 years ago, and then last March I finally perfected it with a better fuel delivery system, and a completely awesome kit that's cheaper than anybody else in the market. Doesn't require any cleaning, doesn't use a metal screen. That's a big one, because tell me right now, what flavor is that metal screen when you...
Right.
Yeah.
What flavor is that?
Drinks is what
Yeah. Well, the smoke doesn't really put smoke on the drink. It's not. It doesn't design to make it smokier. What it does is the smoke with the extra oxygen, it neutralizes that sting. It's like wine and decanting. Okay. So it actually removes that bite. So you can actually taste the bourbon. So it'll take a $30 bottle of bourbon. It'll make it taste like $100, like a Woodford
Really?
or a Willet. Or well, you name it.
Yeah, of course.
Well, a lot of women don't like
Do you have one? You have one of those with you?
I brought several.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
wanted
let's
you guys
check
to
'em
try.
out.
If you want to try,
Yeah, let's
why
check
don't
it
you
out.
grab it.
sibilance.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Yeah, we're
you know,
always
it's
interested to
one of
break
those
this.
things, because I know when we've done like little shows at Harley
Yeah.
up there at Stinger, they all love that sassafras that we go with, and the women are just like, I don't like bourbon, but I love this.
Yeah.
And it's just because that one that, you know, the competitors one, it has that sawdust that they put in there, and then you heat that screen. That screen is plated. It's got to be putting some kind of poison in your stuff.
How would you like me to
let's
do it?
see.
Really
It's going to be
does.
kind of tough. It's going to be. I mean,
We can put it up right here on the table. I don't even know. Like I'm trying to picture what you're
Yeah, I'm
actually
trying
gonna
to
put
figure-
up here.
So
Actually.
I can pull from the floor and I can set it up right up here.
That's
It's
fine,
actually,
that's
it's actually so compact I can do it.
Yeah,
I can do
yeah,
it
yeah.
standing
Better
almost.
get handsy, dude.
I-
So I
I'm
brought
gonna have
this
to
kid.
need-
This is the
We're gonna need a bigger table.
booze traveler.
The booze traveler.
I like
Love
it.
Instead of the bourbon trail, it's the Berlin trail.
Ah, I like it. I like it.
Stay old man joke. So I'll show you this and I'll just pass it around. So what it is, it's just the kit. And it's a bourbon smoker. It's just designed. For me, it was a bigger worm on the hook. Like I said, get people to look at my furniture. I'm not really a bourbon smoker designer, but I am a furniture maker and wanted people to say, hey, look at my furniture. I did bring a piece of furniture.
The
too.
other thing is too, and every big merchandising store does it, right? Like you think about when you go to check out from any kind of store, or if you go to a furniture store, even they always have like the cool looking lights, and you're like, oh, I could want that same light. So having just something else that's smaller, that's not going to cost $2,000 or $1,000, that they can just get your name out there a little bit more.
Right. That was part of the strategy.
yeah, smart.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Impulse products.
So this is the for instance
A little
$28 bottle of bourbon, but it will taste smooth. I also brought something else that we'll get to that in a minute if you want me to.
Yeah, of course.
Let's see here. All right.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to the displays, he's done it for, you know, one of the big ones was Mountain Gay rum. That was a big one. That was a lot of work there.
Jeez.
No innuendos in that sense.
No, no, that was.
I was trying to let that one off.
Yeah, that was
slide
right
by.
into it. I mean, yeah.
This is that flavor I was talking about that the competitors use with dust. That's sawdust, if you will. Won't care what flavor it is, and you have to use a lot of it. But tell me what flavor. Tell me what flavor that is.
That's burnt
Yeah,
metal.
burnt
Right?
metal.
Is that
Yeah.
something you want in your bourbon?
No, of
or
course
any
not.
drink, really, for that matter. So in the kit, you get a lighter, not quite like that. Some marketing, the manifold. There's the lighter, and then 4 cubes. And these cubes are from the scrap, from the stools and stuff that I make out of a Jim Beam bourbon
Is that
barrel.
box made out of wood?
It's not,
Oh,
but it
it's-
is reclaimed.
Sure
It's
as hell looked like it. I thought it was
It's
like
supposed to
very-
be. It's supposed to look like that.
Yeah, it's well done.
At any rate. So that's what's in the kit. So by the way, these are cubes, and the cubes themselves, on my website, you'll see the demo video, but the cubes themselves, you can use 10 times on this side, 10 times on this side, so it's like 20, 40, 60, 80. That's in the kit, with the lighter, with the manifold, and the kit's $40.
Somebody
On my
brave enough to
website,
try
it's,
one?
on my website, it's 50. But I have
What's the
bourbon.
website?
Not bad.
I have bourbon, and I did bring the whole entire kit.
Chris, what's the website?
www.oakbarrelcompany.com.
He even brought ice.
Yeah.
Oh, look, you're
I tried to-
fully
I actually did
prepared.
this and I did this too. So, when we started discovering a couple different flavors, right? We messed around, and I already knew that the decanting process worked well with this.
Right.
We tried it with some other stuff too, and this is one of my favorite rums. It's brown liquor.
Yeah.
It works well with tequila too. I have not tried it with gin or anything over 110 proof because flammability and all that.
Yeah.
So
Don't blame
this
me
is-
on that.
This is the little hardwood manifold. It's all hardwood one piece. This is the piece I'm going to talk to you about later. It's different than the.
Do that one first, though, for him. What would you like to try, man?
I mean, we try either one of those. Let's just.
Okay,
I mean, that's fine. We have some other stuff
So
back here too.
I
but
really
kinda
want to.
I'm
I want to
interested
hear the
see
host's reaction. So here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
This is Captain Morgan Private Stock, and you can use Mount Gay rum too. But so this is really amazing by itself. Would you pass that over and give your lips just a try of that, and then when you give it back, I'll smoke it. And this is one of those things you can do if you are a maitre d' or a waiter. You could do this on the way to the.
really good.
You could do this on the way to the patron or in front of them.
Right.
Whereas with the competitors, again, that sawdust is going to propel out of there. Actually, it's going to go in there too. It's going to make an ashtray. It could get on your floor. It could do anything. If you're just not safe, you have to do it, and you have to clean it. And then this thing, by the way it tastes and replacing it and cleaning it, etc. So never going to use that again. So this is the manifold that you get. You get 4 of these cubes, but this is the special cube that you're going to.
So are all 4 of the cubes the same?
They
or
are the
different?
same. They're
okay.
a bourbon. They're a bourbon cube.
Okay.
Now this cube.
So you have different types of cubes then?
Yeah.
We do.
And real
This
quick,
one's root beer
because
flavored.
right now what?
Yeah, yeah.
What?
So-
So wait, hold on. Before you get into that, if you don't mind, because you said that's a bourbon cube.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say there's different types of cube, what makes a bourbon cube different than what else would you use?
So that was out of
Mostly flavor. It's mostly flavor.
That one was made out of a bourbon barrel.
Okay.
Some
Yeah.
of them we have are apple, pecan wood. It just
Can you
depends.
taste the difference?
Oh yeah.
Little bit.
Little bit?
Big between this one and the one you have there. Big. Actual smell with that one is incredible. The smell with that one. So, and the smell with this one is too. And it's actually root beer flavored, so it's sassafras.
Wow.
I'm going to encourage you to Google as much as you can on that.
We are
Fabulous
selling the
stuff.
sizzle on this one today. I
Yeah,
love it.
this is
For sure,
great.
for sure. So this
Wow.
is really cool, like demo, right? Because I didn't have to put that
move
much
that
smoke
bottle
on
out
it,
of
but
the
as
way.
soon as you put that much smoke on it, it's done. As soon as the smoke touches it, it's done. And let the smoke come fully off of it before you drink it. Blow it off, or you can enjoy it like that.
I mean, that's pretty.
But you
sweet.
tasted it before. Blow all the smoke off, and you can smell the smoke too, right?
Oh, that's why I wanted to get a whiff. Of
Not
that.
bad,
Smells
right?
good too.
Yeah. So do get his eyes. Do get his eyes in the shot.
Wow, that's like a big difference. That's good. That's really good.
Righteous, right?
You know, it's funny. You guys are bigger dudes. You know, talking about a fun time. Unloading barrels. When we unload these barrels, that's a workout in itself.
I can imagine.
Who else wants to try a bourbon or a rum or a bourbon?
Yeah, you guys want to try it? It's
I'll
pretty
try
good.
bourbon. Let me try a bourbon.
You know, the difference is you go to grab a barrel, and they're pretty heavy. But then you get one that's still wet, and then you skeet shoot with your balls is what ends up happening. Because you're like, "Whoa," and you weren't expecting that. 'Cause the
Yeah.
last 4 were not that heavy.
Oh,
And there's a whole semi-truck full of them.
See, my friend, we went down to Costco. He bought a $10,000 whole bourbon barrel of Jack Daniels. It took us 8 years to drink it all, and then now he uses it as a. Did you ever hear of an infinity bourbon barrel?
Yeah.
Every time he throws a party, we put all the bourbon we bring
back
over.
up.
Yeah, we fill it back up, and we've been doing it for the last like 3 or 4 years.
whose friend is this? What friend is this?
My friend Doug. He lives in Michigan.
Oh, well, I'd like to be invited to Michigan to see Doug's bourbon barrel.
Yeah,
of
and he
Infinity.
put it right above his staircase,
I
so
need-
you
I
have
need
to
one of these.
uncork it and pour the whole bottle in there.
Would you pass down
It's
for me?
it's awesome. But no matter what we've done,
I should have left the lid.
and how much we drink, we have never drank it even a quarter of the way. Ooh, it
Sure,
smells so
yeah.
good.
God, that smells so.
This or
good.
this? This or this?
I'll try the Four Roses.
4 Roses.
I'll drink liquor.
What a man.
Oh, that is good.
Yeah, I'm not doing nothing.
That's really good.
Right?
All right, so
Right there it is, actually.
yeah, so I'm actually pulling this up. So for anybody that's watching, is there some sound to this?
Might be.
All right, let's hopefully there's some sound to this, but this is the Fumi
it
is
smells
what
so
this is
good.
called. This is awesome too because it's funny. It's probably been like 3 or 4 years I've really gotten into bourbons, and I really enjoy a smoked bourbon.
Yes.
But I've never thought to like smoke it myself.
I got you.
And this is something that anybody could do from
Super
home.
simple,
And,
right?
yeah, I mean,
Super simple.
my wife could do that, and she
It's
doesn't even
designed to be that simple.
drink- That's
But it's a lot
perfect.
sweeter, though, right? I mean, that way, because
It makes a difference.
right? So that people like that sweeter taste, because that's everybody likes the sweet stuff.
Sure. So you're cooking it, you're heating it up on top, and then you're
Cooking
gonna
with a smoke torch.
and then you're gonna flip it to the side, or are you just letting
I
it?
flip it to the side.
But he can take off. He can take
He
off.
doesn't, but I flip it to the side.
To me, it gets
gotcha.
it gets the wood thing dirty. I don't like doing that.
I
so.
see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I would say no, but you do get.
I trap the smoke in there, so
He hasn't
the
been-
fuse is
That's
better.
good.
I see what you're saying.
I see. That's it. That's it.
All right, I'm gonna play this video so that everybody's watching can kind of check this out.
Certainly. So it's pretty simple. Just it's a manifold. It's a cube, bullet, and that picture, which is absolutely just fine.
Got a little
It's also about a
ASMR going there.
$28 bottle.
And you say about 20 times per cube?
Actually, that's
Yeah.
historic Berlin.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's some of the stuff I make there. I brought another piece of furniture.
But that's bourbon. That's the Berlin store.
Yeah, in the background.
You guys are really wrapping us in with the music here. This is David is like a YouTube like he's all about the ASR. Or is it ASR?
AMS.
ASMR.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, with the sound of the bottle, the decorking.
Yeah.
It's like
Look at that.
That's
and that's no cut. There's no edit in this entire video. There's a lot of people out there that are doing similar. They
Yeah.
cut away because the sparks that fly
yeah.
Yeah.
from the whatever. And
No,
literally-
that's awesome.
and literally I could walk through your house and be so safe just doing an entire drink. And that little bit of spark is the most I would get.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pull up real quick, just some of the stuff that you guys have got here. I mean, these are some pretty cool tables that you've got here. That's pretty dope. And you've had the store now for how long?
9 years. Been in Berlin 9 years, and before that I was doing shows, just kind of shows.
Do
And a
you
lot of
also
them
close at 4 p.m.? Or do you stay open till 5 p.m.?
Yeah. I'm actually there on Friday and Saturday because I didn't have anybody to run the store for a while. Now we're getting busier, and I've got an Amish lady that started last week, and she'll probably take more of the hours. Friday, Saturday plus.
Yeah.
But right now it's just hit or miss. So I'm better served just to stay in the barn and build it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's awesome, and obviously, you've got some extremely beautiful pieces of furniture that you have on there,
sure,
and
for
obviously,
sure.
and custom work that comes from that too. And it's interesting because it's like, I think this is what Brian's looking to get into next, right, Brian? Like,
Yeah,
is the
furniture-
website and start
yeah,
taking
exactly.
orders and start kind of trying to unleash that creativity.
Yeah, to broaden everything instead of just because mostly it's the 3 boutiques and then art shows I go to, and I only do 4 or 5 a year, and they say that's limited, but working full-time job plus my construction company on the side, I want to get away from my construction company on the side, focus more on the woodworking, and then slowly work away from the full-time job and focus more on the woodworking as my plans are. So yeah.
When do you guys typically? Well, because you guys are doing this full time. Are you guys like early in the morning get up and get started? Are you like to work through the midnight hours?
It depends.
Yeah.
Kind of 50-50 on that. Sometimes things are needing finished. He's in there all night long. Sometimes things are needing glued together. So I'm in there all night long.
Gotcha.
It just depends.
And for you, with the having
It's
the full-time-
evenings and weekends and whenever I got free time. Like one thing as I moved, I was renting a shop about 25 minutes from my house, and it was hard because I get the ambition to do it. I got to drive 25 minutes to go do it. So I put a small shop in my backyard. Now 8 o'clock at night, I can walk outside and laser engrave something, walk outside and epoxy something, or if I epoxy something, I can walk out a couple hours later and check on it and stuff. Which is so much nicer than I got to drive 25 minutes to do anything. So.
Yeah, it's hard when you get into that. I mean, everybody talks about starting your own business. Oh, it's gonna be a blast, like working for yourself. But you go through those struggles a lot of times alone, and obviously you have to have a supportive wife. Sounds like you do.
Yeah.
How do you? And I know your wife actually helps at
She
the
actually does
Common
a lot
Grounds,
of
right?
the engraving with the laser stuff. Unless it requires more power, then I take it out to the building. We got a bigger laser out there,
Gotcha.
and the CNC's out there. But she does majority of all the laser burning for me and Chris. Really.
Nice. Yeah,
That's
my
awesome.
wife has a small laser burning company on the side. She does like journals and stuff, engraved leather journals and everything like
Oh,
that. And
that's
she
huge
sells
right
them
now.
too. And she does it. She does almost every show with me.
Yeah.
Which is supportive that she's right there with me
Yeah.
every time. So
Oh, yeah. Well, it gives you guys something to do on the weekends
Yeah,
together too.
exactly,
and you're-
exactly.
It's going towards a common goal, right?
Yep.
Hopefully you're retired and doing something else
Yeah.
together down the road.
Yep.
Have you guys ever dealt with anything like that? I don't know if you can't see, but the laser cutting maps on the wall.
That's cool.
That's sweet. Yeah, that's so sweet.
Actually, I got it off of Amazon, but it's from a private, like they have their shop on Amazon. But they use things they make. This is like the 3x5 version, I think. They make these things like 6x10. Like
That's
man,
crazy. That's awesome. I saw that when I was sitting on the couch. That looks awesome.
Yeah.
So,
See, Kelly's capable. She could cut out the biggest ones.
Yeah.
Because we have multiple lasers, and we could do stuff like that, but I don't know that my patience nor hers would be. Right
That's a
there.
lot of patience there. Yeah. It's a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah, and I imagine like there's probably things that you're good at that you really like doing more so than others, which probably shows in some of your work too.
Stuff.
Can I see that box real quick?
Sure can.
Now, see, myself, I actually like sanding. I know everybody hates sanding, but I really enjoy sanding because you can see your progress.
Yeah.
Unlike everything else, you really can't see the progress. But did it glue up right? Well, you'll know when it comes out of the clamp,
Yeah.
it falls apart.
Yeah.
you
One
know.
thing that's sanding too is I put the music on my earphones and just
Exactly.
sand, and then when you get it, after you water pop that first or second time, and then it comes out, it just feels like glass, like wood feeling like glass.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that's nice. That's
Yeah, for sure. So real quick for those watching, this is the Fumi, right? You can find it on the oakbarrelcompany.com's website. And you sell this kit for how much?
$40.
$40 for the
It might be
kit.
50, but I'll give it to you for 40.
Hey, look at that. But pretty cool gift for those wives that are looking for a stocking stuffer for their husband. I can't think of anything better. As long as he's a man and drinks bourbon.
Yeah.
Or they said that he does. What you could also do tequila ones.
Oh, well, you said
Yeah.
wine too,
Yeah,
right?
wine, tequila.
I haven't smoked the wine, but I have done bourbon, whiskey,
Tequila.
rum, any brown liquor.
Yeah.
Even there's some scotch.
I can
and
s-
you should. You
Yeah,
should really.
I can see some wines. I can definitely see some red wines being smoked.
Perhaps.
See,
don't
I would
know.
like myself, I would go more with
I've
like
not tried, but
a
I
bourbon with a hickory smoke with
Yeah.
your steak.
Okay.
I think that would be, right?
all day.
That's-
Working on a developer to create a dome for it that's just a cube that drops in, but haven't got that quite yet. But
Gotcha.
For food. For food application.
Yeah, I think that's a cool design. I think it's very simple and easy to use. And you said you can use each side about 10 times. Is that what you said?
So comes with 4 cubes, which is 80 infusions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
New flavors
Yeah,
coming out
that's
all
an
the
awesome
time. New
awesome
flavors
invention
coming
there. I love that because, like you said, with the other ones, when you watch them light it, you see the sparks just flying
Yeah.
from that sawdust.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a hazard, like you said, and
They
your
charge
the
you
metal.
for more sawdust. They
Yep.
charge you for the extra screen.
Yeah.
You do have to clean it. You have to
Oh,
clean
yeah,
it.
every time.
It clogs up. And
See, and I'm just not a big fan of that heating that metal up because I know the shit's just plated.
Yeah.
Of course.
It can't be good for you. And
No,
if it's
yeah.
plated stainless ain't exactly healthy to heat.
Yeah,
up.
Right.
exactly.
Well, and it's cool too because this is a great for a small company. This is a great profit for you guys
Yeah.
because you're using scraps that you don't have anything else used to do. It's not going to take you a ton of time to design it, but at the same point in time, there's a value to it to me as a buyer, right? Like $40, $50, like that's absolutely worth it
Well,
for me
one
to
of the
be able to
things
do it
though
at
to say
home.
about Chris's business though, with the Oak Barrel Company, he has always tried to keep zero waste.
That's awesome.
So if he can find something to do with it, he's doing it with it.
it's called hoarding.
But that's
Most men are good at that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I see my wood shop, so yeah.
And that's what he tries to do, and that's why the inception of this, because we did have a bunch of scrap building up,
course.
and some people do buy it for smoking in their smokers and whatnot.
Oh yeah, it's really good to smoke like cheese
But-
or pork belly, pork butt.
Yeah.
It was just to come up with something else.
And that,
for
that
the
was how we
smaller
came up
stuff.
with the sassafras. Actually, in real life, came up with the sassafras. I asked all my buddies, all my Amish friends, some good old boys that I rent from the barn.
Yeah.
And they run a smoker every weekend. And I'm like, what's your favorite? And couple of them, say apple, hickory. I said, well, what's your favorite? Well, when we can get it, sassafras.
Huh.
And it really is amazing.
I haven't
It's
tried- I
sweet.
smoked
It's
a
really
smoked
sweet. And that's what you
yesterday and
got.
I
That's what
haven't
you had
tried
in
it.
your drinks. That's what you had in your drinks.
No, I didn't. I had hickory. I haven't had sassafras, so I'll have to try that.
We're
for
the
sure.
only one out there with sassafras. We're the only smoker out there with sassafras.
Really?
Haven't look around. I mean, we looked at everybody before we came.
You guys need to connect with the Bearded Butchers over there in Creston, all the
Oh,
smoking
yeah.
that they do and stuff. Like, this would be something you could tag on them and put their little logo on it and get that
for
thing
sure.
out there. 'Cause I think that's awesome.
Yeah, they got like what? How many millions of?
I just saw the other day, like 2 million. And I know
Yeah, but
they're
then we'll have a
like-
bunch of drunk farmers running around in the fields.
That'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
Actually, you'll probably have a bunch of 15-year-old kids in Creston smoking freaking something else out of
That's
that.
true. Hey, for what it's worth, they got those 7, 8-year-olds selling the illegal tobacco cigarettes down in Berlin. So,
The little Amish kids coming up with a side hustle.
yeah.
Hey, kids, are you even Amish?
Yeah, that was the story.
So you said you had a table with you too. I mean,
Yeah,
we
I
could
did.
check that out while we're kind of talking about some of your work.
Yeah. This is the one that came up with years ago. It's actually one of the few pieces I have in my house. But barrelhead
Cool.
and some reclaimed wood.
Yeah, it's kind of got like
But,
a
Yeah. But
yeah. Here, put that right.
my
up.
dad's a retired architect. So here it is.
Oh, that's cool. That's,
Oh, that's
really cool.
awesome.
One
Wow.
of the best features is check the head out.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That is really sweet.
This is actually a bourbon head.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right, let's make sure everybody can kind of see that.
That's really cool.
It's like an old style TV tray.
Yeah.
You know, but that's heavy as shit. Like you can tell it's real.
That is real wood. That is not fucking.
That's not that press stuff. Yeah.
That's natty.
I didn't expect it when I picked it up, and I was like, man.
Don't hurt yourself. Hurt your hands.
No, that's
It does have a
sweet.
handle.
That's kind of cool to
That's
carry
really
around.
cool. And you guys sell these on your websites too?
I think it's one of the past designs, but it is available.
Yeah.
It is available. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's cool to see people that are out there.
Nope.
Jeez, oh man.
Uh-oh.
You're not here
I
stuff.
put that up there so I could bring that up during the show, and I totally forgot about making sure it was secure. No, it's cool to see guys out there that are doing like the actual aspect of woodworking rather than just buying the cheap shit that's on everywhere else, Etsy and everything else, where people are just buying cheap shit from China. and
China,
bringing it
yeah.
over.
Yeah, we
The tariffs should be good for your business.
I'm hoping for sure. I'm hoping, yeah.
we noticed even before that there was like in Berlin, it's really strange, but the story behind this Berlin was kind of like a pass-through town for a very long time, and like 80s, 90s was a series of shops that Amish people owned and ran and sold baked goods, carpentry, everything that was staple for the area and for tourists too. Over time, it got more popular, and now, like I said, 4 million people. Well, they couldn't keep up. They couldn't replace, they couldn't replenish. So supply and demand,
They started finding ways to
so
get it cheaper.
all my
too.
friends that come down there, they're like, have you been to that cute little store over there, the real big one? Like, yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. And then the husband goes, it's all effing China though.
Yeah.
But it's so cute though.
Yeah, right. Like, come on. Yeah, so this is something Brian made for us just real quick on a cutting board. And it's cool. It's one of the sayings. You can actually find the glasses on our website, but the one seat tits and ass won't get you an invite to is the Guys Night podcast. In fact, I actually have a funny story about that. So you guys heard recently about the protest that happened this weekend?
Yeah. The hands off or whatever.
Something like that.
Yeah.
We had one in Medina, which is funny because the one said, the one lady was holding, whatever, guy, girl, whatever, was holding a sign that said, "Leave me alone." I was like, you're holding a sign saying, "Leave me alone," protesting in town square.
Right.
That's like the biggest oxymoron I've ever seen, but okay, whatever. But
Just,
anyhow, I
just
was like,
moron. No oxy. Just moron.
but I was like, I posted on the county page, and I was like, hey, if anybody was a man that was down there, like to come on the show, happy to have the opposite perspective and just have a conversation. It's really difficult to get people to come on that don't have the same view. Sure. And I was like, it's not like I want to berate you. I want to have an open conversation where somebody's not keyboard monstering at the other or whatever.
For certain.
And I had like 5 women on there go, why is it only now? Mind you, it's tagged Guys Night Podcast, and then she's like, why are only women being invited? Or why? I'm like, well, because it's a podcast called Guys Night. Thought it was self-explanatory, but let me help you out with that. And they're all mad. Like, oh, you mean guys that you think are men or self-proclaim themselves as men and da-da-da-da. Oh, Jesus Christ, lady. Like, I just asked to be, I'm trying to be the nice guy here. But, yeah.
Those with an
tits
XY
and ass will
chromosome.
not get you an invite to our fucking podcast. All right? We've had many attempts, but we have yet to fall for their tits and ass.
Well, like I've said, tits or tires, it'll give you troubles. That's true story.
True story.
Yeah.
Damn it,
Okay, Evan.
Just leave it. Just set it down. We're gonna put it on the wall so it's easier to hang and then look at. But yeah, appreciate you guys bringing some of that stuff over to kind of show us what you guys are working with.
We'll leave that one, I think.
See,
Oh,
'cause we
hell
made
yeah.
a sign this. It kind of reminds me, just like you're saying, it says, your feelings don't start where my rights begin.
Yeah.
You know?
True,
And
so
that's-
true right
and that's
there,
the
yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
I just think.
Well, like you said, we're catering to, like the transgender. You're catering to 1%, less than 1%, and you want to cater so much to them. It's just ridiculous. What about the rest of us?
Yeah. Well, the other aspect of it is too, and it's funny because today I had my wife's cousin had a baby celebration. And I'm like, they used to call these baby showers and men didn't have to go. But because it's a celebration, now I have to go.
Yeah.
Like, there's just certain traditions that you should leave the fuck alone.
That's true,
And
yeah.
one of them is men going to a baby shower. No, we should go to the cigar lounge. I'll bring you a pack of diapers. We'll drink some bourbon and smoke a stogie.
Yeah.
And we'll
Man,
talk
to
shit.
Yeah.
You know?
While the women are all at the baby shower.
But yeah, this was not my idea of a good time. And
What could
something
you
should just
possibly
be.
input of value? Oh, I like the pink one.
Yeah, it's not the. There's certain things that are okay to separate.
It was fun to make it. the
Wait,
baby.
is this
That's
available?
how far it goes.
Is this available in a gender reveal kit? Can we get like blue or pink with this?
Whoa!
I don't know.
Hey, that would actually be pretty cool if you could somehow infuse
A little,
blue or pink
Smoke, yeah.
smoke
There you
into
go.
it. Man, I'm telling you should do that. Frankly, just for advertising,
Each kit.
and then not ever do it because it's probably not good to put pink or blue smoke into your
We think
lungs. but-
controversy could be good.
Yes.
Publicity of any kind of thing.
Yeah.
It
So
can
when
be.
so when it gets ordered, they just get an email that says not available. Be a man.
I brought up tariffs but this is exactly the kind of thing that I think, and I don't care regardless. I don't consider myself Republican, Democrat. I really just think that if you have common sense and you're smart,
Exactly,
you can be
yeah.
president regardless of what party you affiliate with. But I think one of the things that people don't realize that Trump is trying to do is with these tariffs is really eliminate the cheap shit that's coming over here, so that companies like yourselves could ask a fair price for your work, your time, your labor, and people buy that rather than buying the cheap shit that comes over for China, supporting their economy.
Well, the problem is what nobody realizes is America's had tariffs put on us all globally for years anyhow. But then how do you compete with, there is no global wage, minimum wage.
Right.
It's not. You can't compete with people who don't have a minimum wage.
Well, no minimum wage, no worker standards, no human rights,
that's
no
it.
Yeah.
none of that stuff. We talk about all the time because as much as you might like Elon Musk because he's on the side of Trump, his also getting his cobalt from the Congo, which is being dug out of the grounds by 30-year-old women that look like they're 80 years old with 2 babies on their back by hands. Whereas if you had American workers over there doing that, or you're paying them a decent wage, I mean, they're getting $1 a day, $2 a day to do that. If you're paying somebody 20 hours a day to do that, giving them all the right equipment, making sure they have good housing and all that stuff around the mines, that cobalt becomes a lot more expensive by the time it gets over here and goes in our cell phones and it goes in our cars. So I understand why people are like it, but it's funny because the people that are complaining about the tariffs are also the ones that are saying that black people have been oppressed all this year and that women don't get fair wages. And it's like, well, do you care about the women that are over there working for nothing, or those kids that are working for $1 in the Nike factory so that you could get $100 pair of Nikes instead of $180 pair of Nikes?
But I just think with women, and I understand that they all have their complaints because you can't, figure out from their point of view. They can't see your point of view. I get that.
Sure.
But if they were getting wage shorted every company in America would just employ women.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand how they cannot see that. I understand the fact that, well, we don't get paid as high a job as a carpenter. Okay, well, it's because it doesn't interest you.
Right.
It's not you can't do it. I understand it doesn't interest you.
Frankly, a woman carpenter might actually make more than a man
Actually,
because
yeah, she probably
she'd
would.
probably be able to ask a higher price
eye
because
candy
yeah,
for the rest of the guys that are there.
Don't just realize, women, you have an advantage over men in
Yeah,
almost every aspect, okay?
They do.
If it comes down to two people that could do the job equally well and you look better in a pencil skirt or a pair of overalls on the job site, guess what? You're probably
get
going to get hired.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And it's just like, I understand they're frustrated, but you just don't like that kind of stuff. You're not a plumber. You don't like plumbing. I get it, but you're not going to get the higher wage if you're not in them fields. It's just the way it is for us.
Well, and the other aspect of it too is like, I mean, men and women, nobody wants to stay at the same craft, the same job anymore for years and years. You know, I remember going over to my buddy's house before his dad retired. His dad worked in the same factory for like 38 years, like since he got out of high school and moved on, like never just left the same factory, you know. And today's day and age, you want higher wages. Like that's the kind of level of dedication to your company and to your craft that you're going to have. Now everybody wants to say, I came up with a good idea. I should be the general manager or I should be the vice president because I thought of this or because whatever reason they want it, you know, and then they
don't
can't
want to put their
justify it.
dues. They want to pay their dues.
Right.
Yeah, everybody wants to skip that part
Yep.
of it. Yeah.
And they want the easy road.
Yeah, and there's no standards though for people anymore. That's the problem. There's no values. There's no standards.
Yeah.
A man is supposed to be a certain way, and women think they're supposed to be a certain way, but then they want the man to change.
Right.
And that shit just ain't gonna work. I mean,
For most people.
yeah, it's just. I mean, well, if it changes, then you're not gonna like who you liked.
Right.
So it all goes bad. Period. It's just not.
So, for you guys getting into what you guys did when all of you guys, what was what were the failures that you guys have come across on the way? Like, what were the roadblocks? Because I mean, this once again, when you're buying, you know, handmade products, American-made products by real Americans, like you're not getting it's not cheap. Like people aren't going to go and ask for a bourbon barrel table custom made and say, can I pay $250 because that's what they sell them for at Ashley Furniture, right? Like, so there's got to be some times where it's tough because, you know, even like right now the stock market plunges, and while that probably affects 20% of the country, 80% of the country is freaking out, and it's the people without any money in the stock market. So they don't spend as much money when they think the stock market's bad. They think they need to pinch their money. It's a lot harder for them to spend $200 or $300 on a butcher table or a butcher block, or $1,200, $1,800 on a table. So do you guys see the economy and how what's going on affect your business, or do you guys have enough like one-off where, you know, people off the internet and things like that are asking for custom work that it keeps you busy still?
Yeah, we still are all staying pretty busy. The difference is that with that kind of stuff, when it is cheaper, you know, the problem is the quality just isn't there.
Yeah.
I mean, when it's a small guy doing it himself, he's going to bend over backwards to make sure that is the absolute best. You find one that's, it's a whole lot cheaper, and it probably was 300,000 of them made that same week.
Yeah.
So how many of them are bad?
Right.
Do you want to take that chance or do you not?
Right.
I mean, even in woodworking, you know, we run into bad wood.
Oh, yeah.
Where a lot of times we cut it out and it's just no good. You can't use it.
Goes in the burn
But
pit or for
overseas,
scraps.
but overseas they would throw it, use it, and they don't care if they get a bad rep because they made them for pennies on the dollar, and that's the same kind of quality you're getting. Is
Right.
pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, I can imagine doing all this custom. So now being in Amish country, because that was your first shop really, right? When you opened up there,
Retail.
how did the Amish community react to you opening up? What was that
It was,
like?
okay.
Yes, good
Not
work, closer,
Amish.
bud. Yes,
not Amish.
You're
Strike-
not Amish.
I'm not Amish. Strike one.
Yeah.
Liquor related. Strike two.
Didn't think about that.
Off the beaten path. New batter. So yeah, new guy, new face.
You didn't have anybody like driving their buggy through your shop window or anything like that, right?
No, but I figure someday they will end up burning
we,
it down.
we don't exploit them, but a lot of partnerships go on. There's a guy that runs a buggy service at a depot in my shop, and his wife kind of handles the booking, and so she works for me. And so there is now, that just started last weekend, by the way.
Okay.
After 9 years when people come in my store, the first thing they say is, "How much for the buggy ride?" or where's your bathroom? And I'm like having to say every time, like, I don't have one. I don't know, because I didn't know. Well, now we take the credit card for the buggy instead of just cash, because there's people from all over the world that come down there.
Sure.
So it's a little bit more of an acceptance. But there's a group of businessmen and women that are gathered together. It's called Birdland Businessmen Women Group or something, and I used to go to it every other Tuesday or something. But they never talked about business. They just ate donuts and chum.
Yeah.
And it was no strategy. And I thought, what really made no sense is there's 4 million people coming in this town, and no one's working together to get noticed.
Right.
Better. And they're going through the town and going to the bed and breakfast now, and there's tree houses that stay, and there's all kinds of shows going on there. It's like literal mini amusement park.
Yeah,
but
it's-
without
it's-
the rides, and that's coming.
Oh, wow,
a
really?
water slide park supposedly,
Wow.
where my business is located. But we'll go into that later. I lease. That's all I know about.
Ah, gotcha.
But so I had to get desperate one time, and in doing so, just getting around down there was a problem. So I had this little trike that I electrified and put a motor on the front, put a wheel on the front with a brushless motor, and scooted around town to get to the sandwich shop.
Guess you don't have to worry about anybody stealing it.
Right. No, never did. I left the door open a couple times. But in going back and forth to the store, people would ask me how much for that little bike. And I would say, it's not for sale. Just, come to my store, though. I got the idea. Like, the only way, I did do something shocking. So what I built was a 3/4 scale, half scale buggy that I wear. I sewed in a little backpack that I can wear the thing on the inside. PVC pipe, the whole material, little window in the side. On the back of it, it says, "Follow me" in little letters. And then this looks pretty good. You'll find that on Facebook somewhere. I know it's in there on Facebook.
All right.
On old Facebook. It's in my reels, but long story, I did this to get people to look at me.
Yeah.
And on the and that gold triangle that's there, the orange triangle that says yield or whatever. I have my logo, which is where is it? That
the
little
orange
orange
one.
thing.
Yeah.
So it's that on the
Which
back.
is really easy to find you with, by the way. I love the logo. It like sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. So you probably have to go back a ways, but it's definitely in reels or videos under the old stuff. And you
Okay.
probably have to go back.
I'll look it up while you're talking
Long
about
story,
it.
but I can find it on my phone too. But it was shock value. I write it on the street, and people are like, follow you where?
Right there it is.
Yeah, the people will say,
right there.
yeah,
This right here?
We have that 11
All right. Hold on one second.
Yeah, Amish Chris.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Hold on. We need sound so that my editing software
Oh wait, you
works.
got a Benny Hill soundtrack? That's what you need. It's like,
He rides that all over Berlin.
Oh my God,
I mean, that thing is cool.
that's funny.
it's a little ridiculous. Isn't it?
The dogs are just loving you.
So I had a couple. This is interesting to note. So since 17 is when I built that, and I only take it out in the summertime, and to bring people in when it's slow.
Right.
But since 17, I've only had 2, I'll call them negative interactions. One with an Amish kid, and one with an English guy. And the Amish kid, he was in Rumspringa driving a minivan. And he was at the light, and he kind of like almost flipped me off. He was like, and like turned the corner, and I was like, oh, geez, what was that? Everybody else, I wish I would have had a GoPro because it was just so intense. Like everybody's reaction is kind of like your first reaction
Yeah.
was only like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, exactly.
But the one English dude this was funny, and I kind of, in a business, you got to be careful. You don't want to like piss anybody off royally.
Right.
But this guy says to me, I'm turning around in one of the major shops, and I go from literally mile to mile on each end and try and bring people into my store. And I was turning around in a major parking lot of a big shop, the one that sells all the China stuff. And the husband says to me, you think that's offensive? And I said, I'm trying to make a living, bro. This is desperation marketing. Am I offending you? And he goes, well, you might be offending some Amish. And I go, are you Amish? And he said, F you. And his wife goes, come on, Jim, leave him alone. And when I rode past her, I go, you settled. And that was the worst thing I said. I should have said F you back, but
Oh my God, that's hilarious. No, that's pretty cool. Little redneck ingenuity out there in Amish
it was
land.
desperation marketing.
Yeah.
For sure.
But you know, it's one thing to say though that you always have to watch, because down in Amish country, like what he has, it's not uncommon for the Amish to find your product and remanufacture it.
Well, I was gonna say.
They are great at duplicating your
Knock
own
on
stuff.
off.
Really?
Yeah, knocking it off.
Yeah, I can imagine
They
that.
come in my store all the time and like pick it up, look at it, and like,
Yeah, trying to figure
I
out
have
how
to
they
make
could
jokes
do it.
like I take credit cards. They leave. But you're lucky you sold something to an Amish person. Right?
Yeah.
In all my years, I to people who are formerly Amish, that's not included. But to all my years, the only thing I've ever sold to Amish was an ice cream cone. And that's because we sold ice cream because his wife was a rep there for a while. And we still may go back to doing that, but that's the only thing I've ever sold to him.
I would say that's probably. Well, I don't know if it's because of price or not.
Maybe
They're not going to spend $2,000 to
Ability,
figure out how to copy
ability.
your work.
Yeah,
But
Well, these are I mean,
I can't even get him to buy my barrels though.
yeah,
You know,
these
and,
are.
and my barrels are actually, there's a reason why. I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize. The barrels are different, and I'd love to go more into that. You were saying something that was way more important though.
These are they're luxury items, and
Right.
and the Amish do not own any luxury items at all. Let's
That
just okay outside of the sum of them comments, but
There's
yeah,
15
for
different orders
the
of Amish.
Swartz and Truber and New Order are
Dancher.
they own zero luxury items now. The Mennonites and then the almost Mennonites and the other 14 out there who
Jumped
do,
over
they
it.
would have something, but they would not have any need for any of this, but they would buy it and knock it off.
well, that's what I was
Absolutely.
going to say. But when you get up to a $2,000 barrel, maybe they're like, maybe I'm not going to buy this to knock
they
it
can even
off.
buy $100 barrel of like my barrel, or
Yeah.
cheaper than that even. But I'm trying to get them to buy my stuff. Which there's a reason why we use whole barrels made out of wine versus a bourbon barrel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are a lot of people out there doing whole bourbon barrel tables that don't know better, and most are Amish, but the bourbon barrel has char in it, right? In the char is remnant whiskey or bourbon. In that remnant is sugar. So, and when they rinse those out, they don't actually rinse them,
Right.
power wash. They just that ash stays there. So over time, that ash will become friable, airborne dust inside the barrel. The barrel breaks down, and you've seen them loose, right? You could look through the barrel almost, daylight. So the breeze can come through there, and it carries the dust into your house, around your house.
Really? Okay.
Mixes with the ambient humidity in your home, and you get black mold. It's a class action lawsuit all over Kentucky, Louisville, Lexington, Lawrenceburg, any other city named L. But it's all over, and people with black Cadillacs, black siding, and distilleries know better.
Yeah.
Jim Beam painted their entire distillery all black less than 10 years ago, and it's still all black today because they were tired of power washing it.
Yeah.
So a big thing, and I'm trying to like educate my Amish brothers, like you should
Tired
buy.
of power washing it because of that same coloring, that being it was
And
basically growing on.
you can't power wash off completely. It stains. It leaves a gray.
So you paint it black to hide it. Really, I did not know that.
It's all over
during
the trees.
during Prohibition, that's what the Treasury agents were looking for when they would be in the hills in West Virginia when they were looking at barns. Is they'd be looking for that around the metal around the buildings. That's how
Interesting.
they knew they were distilling.
Look at that. Who said you can't learn something when a
That's
bunch of guys sit
amazing.
at
So
a table?
true though. Very good point. Very good point.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's that. Well, how do you select your barrels? Because you mentioned there's like
Yeah.
a craft to that.
We buy and unload, like he was talking about, by the way, if you guys want to, in the next couple months, we're going to do another one.
Okay.
Yes.
We buy them from a place.
The answer
in
is
Napa
yes.
Valley is a broker, and then in Washington State we have a couple
So
places
by
that
the
buy
way,
them.
we have another channel where we actually go to work with some of our guests. So the answer is yes.
You guys would have fun. You
Definitely.
guys, it's fun.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun. We roll them down the hill. We have little bumpers set up so they, they're down the hill in the grass so they don't get damaged. And then we stack them. We use a little, what is that thing called? A teleloader. Pick them up on the teleloader.
Telehandler?
Telehandler, thank you. And it just beep, 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 and so.
All in.
So those come from a winery.
Okay.
And we get them from a broker, or leasing company, typically something like that, or the winery itself. Big ones.
Yeah.
Big ones. I mean, the ones that you can drive and you see a mountain of barrels.
I can
mean
imagine.
a mountain of barrels. And people are like, oh, don't they ever run out? Demand is always better than supply in that category.
Really?
There is nothing, we cannot meet the demand of this or anything in a bottle.
Yeah.
You can't meet the demand unless it's terrible stuff.
Right.
An Old Crow.
Yeah.
You're not going to sell Old Crow.
No, but you're right, and especially depending on where you're getting, like when you're getting bourbon barrels and stuff like that. I mean, geez, you can't even get bourbon on some of the shelves in the liquor stores anymore
Right.
because it sells out so fast. Like we talk about Ohio, you can't get Buffalo Trace.
In Ohio, there's somewhere in Southern Ohio that makes the barrels. You probably know of it. They just got a contract to double. They were like at 400. They went from 4 to 6 in their annual demand, or annual supply, or who they supply.
Right.
So, and it was one company that popped them over. It was Independent Stave. But at any rate, it's a company in Ohio, and they're in Jackson, Ohio.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they make barrels, barrel parts, barrel staves. They're only like 5 years old.
Oh wow! So it's a newer company too.
Yeah.
So, so you guys get wine barrels, but you also get bourbon barrels.
We do.
And these all come from virtual, like other.
Mostly Jim Beam.
Yeah, they
Mostly Jim Beam.
Mostly Jim Beam. And they're already broke down. No heads, no rings.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're flat on a pallet, about this long, about 7 feet long, and every inch is a barrel.
Oh, so they're broken down and flattened out already. Oh, not like the actual big old barrel.
About
that
3
you have to
ton of staves, 48 barrels ish.
Yeah.
And we grade them out, and the wide ones are stool legs, and the narrow ones are
because they got to
part
be
of the
cleaned
bourbon
and stuff. Because if not, then the shit will start to go with them. That's the problem.
Well, so that's what I was gonna say. So you mentioned obviously the sugar and stuff that builds up on the inside of these barrels. So once you get a barrel, what's your process from there? Are they already kind of cleaned up and power washed, or no? No. So they're just hosed out basically, and
They just pour 'em out.
The wine barrels are rinsed with a sulfite.
Okay.
And it keeps them from, those never get moldy because of that. And then the bourbon barrels, they do get moldy, so that's why we break them down. And then those get shrink wrapped and put on a pallet, and we get the pallet, and we pull from those for the process. But the barrels themselves, when they come in, for whatever, reinforce the rings, cut them open, take the middle out, it becomes an ottoman. The top becomes a mirror. The other little portion becomes a mirror. Cabinets long ways, cabinets this way. Every way you can think
Stools,
of.
yeah.
Any way you can think of. Some of them, the color is amazing because it's stained mostly by the wine. So
I'll have
open
to
them up.
show you something. I have a vision for. I actually found one for sale somewhere, but I saw it was like something you hang on the wall, where like the top half was where you'd have all your your bourbons on little shelves, and it was like kind of like a barrel setting.
Nice.
And it had like a little drawer that you could pull out underneath it to where you had like some glasses or whatever in it, and then underneath was humidor.
Oh wow!
And I was like, I want that now. And they wanted like $1,800 off from it, but I couldn't see it in person.
We've made some humidors. Not out of barrel stuff, but out of old stereos. Old close and play type stereo, like Marantz made a wooden one, and there's a few. Just the old record players from 60s and 70s. People just put them in a thrift store, but we pop out the speaker and put in a piece of glass, line it with copper, humidistat, humidifier, and a light when you open up the box. It floats the box.
Cool.
And it's big enough just to hold cigars.
Yeah.
And like I said, where the speaker was, because you'd always had a speaker on the side, just knock that out and put a piece of glass so you can see it.
That's pretty cool.
So throw nothing away. I tell you this.
Yeah,
Throw nothing away.
Well, I mean, and you're probably realizing this too, is like the more stuff that you can utilize to make something or get creative on,
Oh, yeah.
like, that people aren't thinking of. It's like, oh, I just found a quick way to make money because everybody's throwing this stuff out.
Yeah.
And anytime that you can source something that doesn't cost a lot of money, because I would imagine that 10 years ago, you could buy barrels for $50, $30.
10 years? No, 20.
20.
20 years.
But over the last 10 years, I mean, I see them all the time, $200, $250 for a full bourbon
it's
barrel.
the labor. It's actually the labor that it's risen, isn't it? To move them, it's an unbelievable amount of work.
Yeah.
It is. And to move them
dead weight.
and to carry the cost too. If you're
Yeah.
like a barrel broker.
Right.
So we're going to broker them to a couple of local places. We're going to broker them through Kime Lumber and Layman's in Kidron, the non-electric good place.
Yeah.
And people that are doing hobby stuff. And the thought was just come to us for the barrel. You can.
Well, I'm surprised
pay
people don't
this
do that
price.
already.
You don't have to carry. You don't have to.
They do. People do come to you for barrels.
Quite a few.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know
And
if
parts too, like we sell the tabletop, the riser, the foot rail. So you could get your own barrel and build your own table if you wanted.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. Have you worked with bourbon barrels at all before?
Just the lids, doing engraving and things like that on the lids. I've done some Lazy Susans with them. I've done a couple signs with them and everything for people and everything for like gifts and stuff like that. They purchased for gifts for somebody or whatever. So
getting new. I mean, you said you started with cutting boards, Brian.
Yeah.
What are you finding is like your niche? So what is that cash out woodworking kind of focused on right now?
Right now, we're selling mostly engraved boards and epoxy. Like I do like the ocean scene, like the beach scene and stuff on coasters and boards and everything. Those sell really well for me.
Okay.
At the boutiques I'm in.
Now, do you have those on a website or not a website? Because I know you're working.
Yeah,
on
it's on Casual Woodworking's Facebook page.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up while you're talking about it. So.
And but I do, like I said, the beach ones.
Oh, you have a couple with you?
Yeah. So I brought the set.
that's cool.
Just doing like that and everything. So a lot of people like, and I sell them like the shops I'm in are Vermilion, Sheffield Lake, and Avon Lake, so they're right on Lake Erie.
Can I open this?
Yeah. So people love to have the ocean under beach houses and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So
this is definitely and. Damn it.
you can cut it if you would. Don't matter.
I know. Yeah. Trying not to.
That's right.
But you're right. I mean, when you go, like, even when you're on vacation, if there's a beach anywhere near, like, this is the kind of stuff that sells. Are you getting into the tables with this too?
Yeah. So I've done some tables. I've done some tables. I have one of the boutiques I'm in, Talents. It's a Buckeye wood, which is a gorgeous wood. It's an end table with black epoxy through it, and it turned out really nice. So, and that's for sale. So, I did one of my favorite ones was a box alder. It's the red flame alder, and the wood's got red, like almost like red flames through it. Actually, someone said it looks like a piece of bacon.
Yeah.
So, so I'm like, oh, now I see it.
Like
so
very little meat.
Yeah. But I did that with black epoxy on the outside of it and everything, and so that was a good seller for me too. So
I mean, these. I mean, they're not simple to make because you're dealing with epoxy.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Stuff. But this is pretty low maintenance as far as you to make. What do you typically sell these sets?
So those sell for $35 a set.
Really?
That's really nice.
So yeah.
I mean, that's one of those before
life.
you check out, grab it on the way out.
Yeah,
type
exactly.
things,
And that's
and it doesn't scare
the
people
wood
off.
the wood I use for them is left over from cutting boards. It's some cutoffs from cutting board and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So in the last, I guess I hear in the last 5 or 6 years, epoxy's gotten really expensive.
Yeah.
So it's really, I mean, it's to buy a gallon kit. If you buy the good stuff, it's like $165.
Wow.
For a gallon kit of epoxy. So yeah, it's crazy what it's going for. And then to do the work, you got to watch it. You got to make sure it's a dust-free environment. So you got to do that. You got to make sure you're getting the bubbles out of it, or it'll pop and get bubbles and everything. So there's a lot of maintenance to as you're making it.
Right.
Once you get it to the point where you're dust free, you just got to let it go. You can't touch it. And it takes, like this stuff. I use the tabletop epoxy. It's like 24 hours to cure. When I make my tables, it's 7 to 10 days to cure.
Wow.
So I got to make sure wherever I'm doing it's dust free and covered for 7 to 10 days while it cures and stuff. So
That's insane.
yeah.
Well, there's also, I know a lot of people these days are getting like in their man caves, I can't see the word, epoxy tables. Like they're having their baseball cards, pennies.
Yeah. I did a small table, like an end table for someone that had shell casings in it.
Yeah.
Down the center, it had it was maple on both sides, and it had a black epoxy, like a 1/2-inch thick on the bottom. Then the shell casing, put it in clear epoxy over top, so you could see the shell casings, but you couldn't see through because of the black epoxy on the bottom.
That's pretty
So
sweet.
so that was a good one. So, and they're my shell casings, so we're so.
But yeah, I mean, this is like a big thing right now. I see that all the time, and I understand why. So it's funny when, as an outsider looking in, you see this stuff that's like out there on the internet and stuff like that. And you see what people are pricing. Like, there's some work goes into it, but like I've seen those epoxy tables that are $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 with live edge.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, God, why is this so much? Like, I mean, you just dump an epoxy.
Well,
over
the
top of
epoxy
it.
is in it, but then too, to get the live edge and the work that goes into prepping that live edge and flatten it and getting all the imperfections, all the loose, because you have to take all the bark off it. because the bark, if you pour a live edge table with bark on it, sooner or later that bark's going to break down and fall off.
Yeah.
And then that epoxy's going to fall because that's what that epoxy's attached to.
Yeah.
So you got to do cleaning all the little grooves in the wood. You got to clean out all the loose stuff in there. It's a lot of prep time and then like I said, the epoxy is just, you guys big tables use 15, 20 gallons of epoxy. You figure 160, 180 bucks a gallon.
Wow.
That's a big cost in just epoxy to do
And then
that.
if it goes tits up, that's a big loss.
Yeah.
That's the, because it's not as simple as, I know a lot of people think you just mix it and pour it and you're done.
Right.
That's
No.
not the way it goes.
No, not at all.
Unfortunately, that's the problem with a lot of stuff.
It is also trendy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's trendy. And
It is trendy. But I think, one thing that we have today that didn't have 15 years ago is like we're sitting here talking about it and explaining the process, and it's obviously more tedious than I expected. And then there's obviously, you talked about the loss, like if it does bubble and pop, all these different things, especially on one of these larger tables. I think now the fact that you can essentially video that entire process over the course of that 6-7 days or whatever.
Yeah.
And then break that down like on a social media account on a TikTok or something and walk people through it. Once people understand that, then they're like, oh, now I see why it costs
Why
so
it takes
much.
so much. Yeah.
Now I feel a little bit better about spending this money. I'm supporting the community. I'm supporting a local person. And also there's a story to share when somebody says, oh, that looks really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you about how they did it. It's nuts.
Well, like he was saying, no waste. Those coasters, wood coasters right there, come out of Catholic church pews.
Oh, yeah?
That's African sapele wood. It's out of Catholic church pews I got them from. So, yeah.
So it's crazy when you talk about wood too. So my wife and I are big proponents of Hawaii. I think everybody should go there. Beautiful country, beautiful country, beautiful countryside. But one of the things over there that's big is Kona wood. I don't know if you've ever worked with
I've
Kona
heard of it,
wood.
never worked with it.
So
expensive.
it's expensive because, for instance, if a tree falls in the woods and you find it, you have to go through a process to be able to take that wood from the land.
Now, isn't that wood? It smells like perfume, right?
It's not perfume. It does have like I wish I could explain.
I've
You know how
turned some-
cedar has a distinct smell.
I've turned some pens with it. And it smells like it's like Snuggles, like a fabric softener.
It's
has
definitely it's got a good scent to
yeah,
it.
It really does.
It's not as strong as cedar or something like that,
Yeah.
but it definitely has a smell to it. But it's just a really cool dark wood. But some of the trees you can get like a multicolor out of it and stuff like that, which those obviously like increase. But wood over there, it's like if you find it, you have to petition to get it.
Wow.
And then to take it out of there, you can't cut it down you can't randomly cut down Kona trees or whatever. So it makes the wood higher demand. Is there is there wood that you guys use that is higher demand than others? Like, is there certain things that pull a premium because of the type of wood?
Well, white oak is always kind of a premium, especially if it's corner sawn.
Yeah.
Walnut's pretty pricey.
Walnut's pretty
too.
pricey.
Hickory is, in the big box stores, hickory's expensive, but in reality, hickory
It's not.
that
It's
expensive.
it's like a cedar or a cherry or a maple.
Hard maple's still pricey too.
Hard
Yeah,
maple,
hard
yeah, you can get
maple's pricey.
soft maples a little priced. Like I said, when I go out to Byler's in Middlefield, I get hard maple for about $5.25 a board foot, which is pretty good. The place I go in Medina, it's about the same. He doesn't have the quantity, and if you go out to like the Amish sawmills, they have they're all either 8-quarter, 6-quarter, or 4-quarter. Which is how they size the thickness of the wood.
All right, hold on a second. We gotta stop for a second because I gotta go back. Like, first of all, the first words you mentioned was what was the first word you mentioned? White
White oak.
White oak. Oh, I want to go through all the things you unpack because I don't work with wood every day, so I'm completely fucking confused. You mentioned corner cut,
Quarter sawn.
Corner sawn.
corner sawn.
Quarter.
What does that mean?
Basically, when you look at it, it kind of looks like it has streaks in it. It kind of looks. Basically, it's like glitter.
All the barrel wood.
Its
That's all
barrels
it is.
are all they're quarter sawn.
So it expands when it gets wet.
It expands in different ways. Wood, when you work with it,
Stronger,
it works
too.
in different ways. There is a method to the madness. It's not just putting some boards together.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
yeah.
And what ends up happening is you can do it wrong, and then it's going to do so. Certain types of woods cut in certain ways are designed for different projects.
Okay,
That's basically the best way I could say.
I got you. So when you say quarter sawn, that's just the way that they're actually cutting that specific board of wood in order for, I'm guessing, like the
It's
rings
actually
and
turned
stuff.
a quarter of a turn on every. You got the log.
Yeah.
And they'll saw a piece off and then turn it. So
then they'll-
it's normal wood has a grain to it.
Yeah.
It's called kerf sawn. And that'd be a board that you just a log that you would go boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Quarter sawn, they'll take one and turn it. Take another one, turn it, etc.
And just keep going with it.
And what it does is the grain goes a couple different ways, making the wood stronger, more pricey. And with the barrel, what it does is it actually expands when it gets wet. So it goes this way and this way.
So it tightens on
The
itself.
grain, yeah. That's
So
why a barrel holds liquid.
gotcha. So, and that's specifically quarter sawn wood, period.
Yes. yes.
So all barrels are made with this quarter sawn.
But they use it for other things too. Brilliant tabletop. Like you said, it's sparkly kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gorgeous,
Interesting.
but it's expensive. It's
Very
expensive.
pricey,
Yeah.
And then you mentioned when you're getting wood, you're getting it. You said like 4 different cuts. Like is what?
So yeah, what they measure it by is quarter. 4 quarter is 1 inch. 6 quarters 1.5 inches. 8 quarters 2 inches. It's just how they.
Okay.
Like
Yeah,
if you were a 1x4
so
at
instead
Home
of a
Depot.
2x4, it's a 4x8. or
Well,
whatever.
yeah,
Oh.
but if you
8 by
it's
6.
the thickness. It's just the thickness.
Okay.
So if you go to Home Depot and get a 1x4, it's 3/4 inches thick. 4 quarter is 1 inch thick. It's 4 quarters of an inch.
Gotcha,
So
I
yeah.
gotcha.
So
Okay,
yeah.
so that's
Prior
what you
to
meant.
milling.
Yeah.
Prior to milling.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, prior to milling.
Yeah.
yeah.
So it'll be nominal. Like
When you get done with it, yeah.
it'll be 7/8 or
Gotcha, I
15,
gotcha.
15,
16.
16, yeah.
Okay.
Depending how much you got to take imperfections you got to take out of it.
So there is an artwork to finding the wood that you need for specific projects. then.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, when I go out to the sawmills, I'm picking through a lot of wood to get just what I want because I have something in my mind what I'm going to make with it and what I'm going to use with it. And like I'm doing a serving tray for a customer out of cherry, but they wanted sapwood in it. Which sapwood, that's cherry there, but sapwood's got the white. So sapwood's
That's
on the
China
outside.
there, actually.
No, that's
This.
cherry.
I was like, no, this is all Amazon.
So the sapwood's on the outside is outside wood, and it's a lighter color than the more center, the
Like
darker
that.
the wood gets.
Like that.
Yeah, exactly. That
cherry.
light is sapwood.
Cherry.
Okay. So this is 2.
No, that's one wood.
That's cherry.
That's a piece of cherry. The
might be
lighter
2
wood
pieces
there
of
is
wood.
towards the outside of closer to the bark.
That one might have
okay.
been. That one may have been glued together. I feel.
But that's really.
But that's what it is,
cherry.
yeah.
But that's what it would look like.
Yeah.
So based on what part of the tree you get it from,
Yes.
you could
Right.
have that 2
Well, it's
tone.
like hickory, for instance. On the outer is rustic hickory. As you get more towards the center of the tree, then you become hickory.
It's white.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Whiter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I picked up some spalted walnut, which I've never seen before, and it's at home. And I didn't need it for anything, but when I saw it, I had to have it. So I'm actually, my granddaughters won't watch this, so I'm gonna make them jewelry boxes for Christmas this year, and I'm gonna use that spalted walnut for the tops of them, and it's just. It's gorgeous. It's just, I said when I bought it, I had no plans for it, but I saw it sitting there, I had to have it. So yeah.
Walnut tree that was hit by lightning.
What?
Yeah.
Spalted.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what that
yeah.
means?
Yeah. Yep.
That is pretty cool. So what does it do to the wood then in that case?
It just gives it all kinds of figuring and lighter and darker, and it's just
Part of the tree stops growing.
yeah, part of the tree. Yeah.
And the other
If I
grows
think
around
about it, well, I'll send you a picture when I get home. If I want, it's just a gorgeous piece of wood.
So it's got struck by lightning. The tree.
It could have, yeah. It's a good
Does it
component
have
of it,
any-
yeah.
Does it have any Lichtenberg?
No,
burns on it?
no, none of that.
Okay.
No, none of that. So
What did you say?
Lichtenberg burns,
Like the lightning.
where they do the
lightning.
burning, yeah. So
I mean, I'm surprised that Evan even knows what the fuck that is.
I have a friend that actually got hit by lightning on his right shoulder, and he has Lichtenberg scars on his arm.
really,
Yeah.
wow.
It basically looks like the lightning pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot
yeah.
of people do
shit.
that
You see
with
the tables they
microwaves.
burn,
High
the doors?
voltage.
Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
turn around and they'll take it and they'll put the water in baking soda and then they hit it with a microwave transformer and it just
Yeah.
Burns,
Oh
yeah.
shit!
Yeah, it's
That's-
pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, let's get a bucket, Evan. Let's use your hand. It's demo days.
You're the youngest, so
Let's go use me. It's
will be good
Frankenstein
times.
by the time.
I'm just super impressed you knew what that was. And
Licked it.
could you spell it?
No, not gonna even try. Not gonna even try.
David, did you have any questions? I know I've just seen you've been taking some notes over there. So
I want to know also what's the hardest wood you've ever worked with.
Myself was Brazilian cherry.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, that was a real battle. That just pissed me off. So I was making these military logos, the Marine logos, for 3 Marines. Mm-hmm. It was super pricey wood to begin with. Mm-hmm. So I'm queuing up the CNC. I had 1/16 bits that I order special for this thing. The bastard just kept snapping.
That's how made you break on them.
The first 3 that just snapped them right on. I'm like, son of a bitch, and it's not like I'm not doing that for money. It's just, and it's just like, damn, and finally I got it together.
Before you continue, was there a reason you chose that specific wood for these projects?
I try to choose wood when it's something like that. So for when it's the Marines, I try to go with something with red. I don't like particularly red oak is okay. It's just not that great for my logos.
Gotcha.
So the Brazilian cherry kind of has like a reddish hue through it, which is their signature color is red.
Right.
And they just looked phenomenal. And I'm pretty sure I still have the pictures of them somewhere. But they just turned out so great because it's hard. That shit is hard. I mean, ironwood is weak compared to that stuff.
I have a mallet of ironwood. And the Brazilian cherry the ironwood wouldn't hold a candle to it. So
it's horrible. It's. I mean, they talk about certain woods are blade killers. This shit is way past blade killer.
No kidding.
It's just horrible.
Snap 3 bits off that thing.
Osage. What's that?
Snap 3 bits, just
right
like
now.
that.
Just right. I mean,
and are those bits? I'm gonna imagine those are like
pricey.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Those were expensive because my machine's a little bit bigger, and I use the brands I use. I like to use Southeast Tool. They are way more pricier than most, but as long as I don't break them, they last for quite a long time. And I'd recommend anybody to use those because they are pricier. But I've used some of them. I had used the same bit for 4 years.
Wow. Well, yeah, you know what the old saying, buy once, cry once.
That's it.
So seriously.
Yeah, and those bits, I just kept snapping them. But my whole problem there was I just wanted to make sure I got them. Well, we got them for him, and then one of the vets, it was like a month and a half later, he passed. But at least he got I got his thing to him. Wow. That was all that really mattered.
And what did you have made for him?
I made basically it was the Eagle and Globe for the Marine logo, except I cut it out completely, and then I put their name underneath of it. Because I have certain reasons, like if somebody wants one made, I will put their last name and a first initial. I've had people get pissed off because I won't put more information on them, and I'm afraid stolen valor. Yeah, that's the bigger problem. Yeah, I don't go for that, and it's like I'd love to do more for you if you knew somebody wasn't gonna, but if something happens, I don't want to be that I was the dick that made it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't blame you in that sense. I mean, that's always something you kind of got to worry about. And is that on the oak barrel or is that on something else? Would I maybe be able to find those?
No, I have the pictures. Kelly probably doesn't have the pictures up yet on the site.
Now, do you guys operate under the same name at the Common Ground?
We do at the stores. Okay. On the web, I got Cougar Meat doing the website.
Cougar Meat?
Yeah, Cougar Meat's. He was kid I'd kind of raised since he was younger, and he got a nickname as Cougar Meat because I know when he was DJing, I made him a box and I said, just put just the tip. And everybody thought it was great, and they used to load him up with money all the time because they thought, that's amazing. I was like, that's pretty great. But
he's damaged goods in Vegas right now. Vegas has a valet and a web
Cougar Meat. That's hilarious.
Yeah, good old Cougar Meat.
Cougar Meat getting just the tip.
That's the OnlyFans channel now. Cougar Meat.
Cougar Meat. Oh.
All right, so here's a couple of Brian's stuff, and I don't know if but I can see there's some of the epoxy stuff that you did there on the Ohio State or the Ohio State sign. I'm assuming these are the things you're talking about with your wife makes on the journals.
The journals are the ones she makes. Yeah, she engraves them and everything. Different journals, different engravings and everything. So she does all that.
So I was gonna see if I could find with the cutting boards when you see them in the multicolor, right? And they're done either whether it's a line all the way across or even like the checkerboard. So I'm assuming they're using multiple woods when that's the process.
All the cutting boards, it's all natural color. You don't want stain on cutting boards because it's not food safe. So like all the woods I use are mine. I'm sure you do too. Are all natural color, and you put a clear oil on them to finish them and everything. But end grain is one that's pretty cool, and I actually brought one.
That's what we generally make is all end grain.
End grain.
The only way I know that you can change the color supposedly safely, and we still don't do it yet. But if you were to use Odie's,
That's nice.
you use Odie's and
damn,
you
that
use
is
it with
beautiful.
color.
But that's an end grain one. So
So what is end grain?
End
So-
grain, so your board is you got your surface, and then you've got the end of that board,
That's probably
and it's solid.
Like,
yeah.
This is awesome looking board right here. Like that's totally custom. It looks like
And one thing about you got some of these cutting board manufacturers, you order something online and they all look the same. Mine are all one-offs. They don't, not two of my boards ever look the same.
gotcha.
They can have the same woods, but they never, they don't make, I make one
That's
board at a
sweet.
time.
So, can I ask what's that board run?
This board runs 95.
95.
Yeah,
That seems fair. And those are good for. You're saying 2 to 3 years.
That's a
Well,
great
yeah,
price.
you could probably get more out of it with the end grain. End grain. You might get a little more out of it, but like people don't realize that. Do the end grain stuff. It's a lot of wear and tear on sanding. Blades.
Yeah, it does. It
it's
takes a lot more. I mean, you
All right,
can't
so-
run it through your planer. You got to sand, and I have a router sled set up that to flatten them and everything, and it's just a lot of work. And it takes a lot more sand. Like I said, ton more sanding because you got to sand the grain so much because end grain's like straws. You got straws here, and
You open them up.
you open them up, and so you got to keep sanding and water pop them and sand them and water because water pop brings the grains up, makes it rough. Then you got to sand again. High end chefs like end grain boards because it doesn't dull their knives, and it lasts longer.
Grips the food.
Because you're cutting through you're not cutting across the grains, you're cutting into the grain, so it doesn't dull their knives as much. So a lot of high end chefs like the end grain boards.
All right, so let's talk about the process of end grain again because I was
No, it's fine.
interrupted by that
Okay,
beautiful
so
board.
basically, let me see one of your coasters.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is generally some boards. This is just the face of the board.
Yeah.
Now, when you do an end grain, you're cutting up here. Is where you're doing that.
So it's
whole
more
surface.
yeah. It's like this. You glue panels together like this.
Okay.
And then cut them into 1.5, 2-inch strips, and then flip them and glue them all together.
Yeah,
So they're
And
all
then, so it takes like I made a chaos board.
Board.
You have to look it up online. I won't make one again. They take so much time, and you can't make any money on it because as much time as they take. It's like 10 or 12 glue
Like a
ups.
kaleidoscope.
Yeah, it's like 10 or 12 glue ups to do it. And I made one for my niece.
Epileptic seizure. If you
Yeah, yeah.
All right, hold on. Let's see if we can find. Holy God! Now this one's only $283, so it's probably China's made.
Probably it's on Etsy.
Here,
So
let's pull up this. Let's see how to make a chaotic board.
Take my lithium right now.
Let's see what this looks like. All right, let's cut through this just so. All right, so he's gluing them all
two.
together.
yeah, that's the first
You're already
glue up.
hours and hours into it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, hours.
All right, so now he's got it kind of.
Holy.
That's the first glue up.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's after the second glue
He's
up.
got
Yeah.
paddock, and that looked like it had.
Paddock.
Yeah.
So now he's got to cut those into 1-inch blocks.
You got to cut it like 10 times and glue up 10 different times to
you
make
just keep
it.
gluing it. In reality, you've got minimal wood and a shit ton of glue.
Yeah, yeah. Seriously, he's right. He's right. He's right.
That's right. Paddock and poplar.
I wouldn't use poplar.
That's what it looks like, though.
It looks like poplar out the grain.
Well,
Yeah.
then
It's just
somebody
color.
I would
Color
never
of
use
it.
poplar in that. You might as well mushroom stamp it.
Yeah.
Then. I mean,
And you see you're cutting it again, and then it's nonstop cut. And a lot of people make 2 or 3. Like he's got 2 boards there because it takes several boards to make one chaos board.
I mean, I can see it now. Now
jig
you're
is
starting to
helpful.
finally getting some design to it.
That
Yeah.
sled jig is really helpful, though. That's a nice piece.
I would never use poplar though on a cutting board of any kind.
Oh, I see. You're talking about that little block he's got there. Yeah.
Yeah, the sled.
Yeah, you could.
It's
That would
it's
make this a
time
lot
saver.
faster process.
Yeah. But still, there's hours into it at this point.
Yeah, there really.
And every
is a
time
lot
you
of
glue
time.
it, really, I mean, you can glue back up again. You can move around. But if you're using Type-On 3, which is the best glue, You're still
Yeah.
waiting 2 hours.
I'm not.
But most people wait a little longer. Like,
Yeah.
I go overnight.
I don't know
I go-
why, but
I
for
go
some reason I
overnight.
use Tight Bond 3 and it says it has the longest working. And I touch that shit together in my shop and it's over.
He clamps
Really?
it.
Yeah.
He power clamps it.
It doesn't give up. I
Yeah.
mean, you're like, shit, I got to move it just a little bit. It doesn't give up.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's
And see, this is probably your final glue up for it. And then there's so much, they said so much sanding that goes
Yeah.
into it
Are
because
you
it's
standing
ingrained.
between each cut?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, so he's not even showing the hard work.
no,
He's
no,
not
no.
sanding. He's
planing, but you
Yeah.
still got to
Yeah.
still got to
sand,
sand. Yeah,
sanding
yeah,
with-
barrels.
with-
Yep,
with
yep.
thickness sanding or something.
I mean, he's got these all kind of preset. Like he's got this set up as this little mini warehouse, basically, and going or.
Yeah, it's nice. He's got those clamps. Those pumps are nice clamps.
In reality, these are more.
I wouldn't do that step.
labor
but he's
of
doing
love.
that
They
step.
crack like that. Yeah,
I skipped that step.
yeah.
What step?
When he's
That
pounding
tape-
it,
down.
Oh,
because
really?
it'll crack them apart sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is
He's using double face tape to put it on a piece of plywood, probably for just flattening it.
Yeah, he just said it. He doesn't
it's
want
the
to use
router
Yeah,
sled.
just to
Yeah,
flatten it,
to flatten it.
The
So
double face tape kind of holds it down.
And what irritates me is I could see me doing this, and then my damn CNC turns around and crashes as I'm in a cutout. And then that just makes you want to scream.
Yeah, what would you say the time elapsed on that is?
Oh, he's
6
probably-
hours?
more than that. So more than that. I mean, yeah,
He's
yeah.
probably ever did at a minimum, I would say probably 8, 7, 5, 9.5 hours.
Yeah,
total.
just
Yeah.
milling time, not counting
Yeah.
the glue setup and all that. Just
Yeah.
milling time. Yeah,
There's a lot that goes into
I mean, it looks sweet.
yeah.
It does look sweet.
yeah.
And when I do something like, I'm like, people are like, oh, it's too pretty to use. You know, you get that. You know, it's too pretty. No, it's not. It's what it's made for. You
You're
know,
not gonna
so
hurt it. That's what we tell people all the time. You're not going to hurt it.
yeah.
Try to get close to that mic. That's
I
not
make
picking you up.
end-grain cutting boards out of hickory, and those are a knife killer. They're
Yeah.
not going to hurt the board.
No.
Yeah, that's impressive. Like that's definitely a lot of work.
Yeah.
And that makes you realize too, like what goes into that. So all flavor workshop. But this is what when I talked to you guys earlier about like what you could do to show people like that process right there. You have that going on a small TV at your
Yeah.
booth
That's
or in
true,
your
yeah.
store.
Yep.
Like, and people can see this. Like, look at, we just watched almost that whole video, and even though you guys do this every day, like, you're like, oh, I wouldn't do that, or oh,
Play
I
by
was
play.
doing that. That's pretty cool. Or,
Yeah.
you know. But it's the benefit we have today of technology.
Yeah,
It's kinda-
right, yeah.
Because did you have to watch something like this in order
Yeah.
to know how to do it?
Yeah.
So,
I just do caution to the wind.
Did you?
A lot of time, that's what I do. Is I do glue stuff together. I will literally glue stuff together just to destroy it, just to see how it's going to last. Because I don't want somebody to get it and go, "Well, this fell apart."
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's not possible because the way it was glued, it's just,
Yeah.
you know.
Like most of if someone comes back with a damaged, warped or something cutting board, it's probably because they put it in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
I bet you that happens a lot.
It does.
Yeah.
And I have
Which
a
is funny to me because to me that makes no sense. But hey, whatever.
yeah.
If you can't,
I have a care card that goes with each cutting board that says how to take care of it and do not put in dishwasher, do not soak in water. You know, wash it off, let it air dry. You know, but I have a care card that goes with my cutting boards that tells me, it
Don't
explains
be
it
a
because
moron.
right.
Yeah.
Use
Wash
your
my
head.
Like I will say, people. Here's another common canning. Like tomatoes is a big one because there's so much moisture content. But let's just say the long-term canning project that is ding, 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 and they're just blindly cutting tomatoes on it for a day. End of the day, the thing's going to be this if it's still moisture on it.
Yeah.
So they're not. I mean, not conscious of
Yeah.
all that water, all that liquid on it.
Yeah, so that's a good question.
Canning.
So, would you recommend like when you're somebody wants a cutting board to last longer and be good, or do you be gooder? Do you recommend like having cutting boards that are designed for certain things? Like, hey, for your meat, like buy yourself a nice one for your meat, your butcher block.
When he
etc.
has with the
Yeah.
juice groove in it,
yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
that one's probably great for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's got the juice groove in it, and then your juice will flow off. And some of the ones I make, I'll actually have where the juice groove is bigger on one end. You can actually have a little tray underneath it or pour it out
Yeah.
to get the juice out. So you're not losing the meat, but the juice is just dripping off.
Yeah.
That's for the juice groove. I made one for a customer in Kentucky for Christmas. It was 26 or 22 by 26. It was strictly a brisket board.
yeah.
And that's what they wanted it for was her husband cooks breast brisket.
all the time as his Christmas present. And so
So when you make one of those ingrain ones, it's the multicolor and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Can you then use the CNC after that if somebody
yeah.
wanted to like have like
yeah,
something engraved to it?
yeah.
Because we're actually talking about doing an event where we're gonna have like a bunch of guys that have been on the podcast before. We're gonna go get a ton of like different meat. That's like Bearded Butcher's got a ton of different stuff that they keep in there from wild game and stuff. And we were like, oh, we need a big butcher block with
We
our
got big
logo
butcher
on it
blocks.
that we could set
Yeah.
up and have.
Yeah, he's
out
probably got a CNC machine big enough to do that with.
So you mentioned you just got a CNC.
Mine's
machine.
small. Mine can do a 15 by 15
Okay.
area, 15 inch by 15 inch.
Okay.
It's the first one I've had, so I want to learn it before I spend the money on it. Expense because they're expensive. If you buy good CNCs, they're expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, you get $10,000-$20,000. My buddy's got a 4 foot by 8 foot fit a full sheet of plywood on a CNC machine.
So you can
it's a
engrave the whole tabletop, basically.
Yeah, it's a $25,000 CNC machine, and it's probably 15, 20 years old.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I
That
used
is
one this
awesome.
weekend.
Yeah.
I this week, not to outdo,
Yeah.
but it was 60 feet long.
Are you
CNC.
serious?
The travel was 20 feet.
You went and saw one, or you acquired
I
one?
paid a guy to cut a table for me.
Okay.
I mean,
Wow.
it's for a customer. It's 120 inches by 40.
Wow.
This way. And they had a chamfered edge, and chamfered is the bottom.
Yeah.
So the CNC's got so much capability. And the guy that had this, he actually charged me $140 an hour. The total bill was $240, and they turned it upside down to chamfer, and that's when they make it.
You
on
have a
the
45
bottom.
on the edge or something, 30 degrees something.
Then they trim it out to 7/8. They start out with something that's two inches, and they bring it out to 7/8. Make it more elegant. It was just a customer's preference.
Right. Did you do like was it like an engraved like a design or
This one
logo
just
or
did
something?
a profile.
Yeah,
do
just
you
a
mean?
profile, just the
Basically,
shape of the
so,
table.
Like this here is considered your profile.
Okay, I got you. So just the edges of
Yeah,
the board
yeah.
with the CNC.
So there's many different sizes out there, and you can job shop. You can pay somebody, and like this guy was $140 an hour. Hilltop Woodworking in Fredericksburg, Ohio, on Graber Road.
Oh, shout out to Hilltop
and
Woodworking.
tremendous job. They did a tremendous job. Father and son team, Amish
So that's
with a CNC.
Yeah.
I know.
it's for business.
Right. It's just for business. They can do this.
It just
So,
depends on what
powered.
community
It's,
you're in.
Power. It's not powered on the grid though.
Squirrel powered.
Oh
No,
no,
they have a big old Kenworth.
do they really run off
Huge
a
Kenworth,
really?
bigger than this table.
See, mine's a 4 foot by 4 foot with recoil lathe, and I have a pass through, so I can do longer than 4 feet.
Nice,
but I
nice.
Can't go.
Yeah.
wider.
Yeah, he's got a nice one too.
Oh, that's
For
awesome.
tables.
So
and
when we
anything.
want like to do a custom table with a huge logo in it, you can do that.
Oh yeah,
He
absolutely.
has done it.
I've done
Oh,
it.
that's
yeah,
dope.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends because I mean, see, not like Kelly. Like, if you wanted to laser do your table,
This
Or
is
if you
this
wanted-
isn't capable.
or if you
of being
wanted to
done.
3D, you know, like the Sons
Yeah.
of Anarchy, they had that big thing in the middle, the Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
You could do that just the same in the middle of the table.
See, we want to build a table. We want our table to kind of be flat across the front like this, and then kind of like slope back. That way, we're all kind of like sitting at angles.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
And then on the front of it, I'd love to have our logo like 3D engraved. That'd be sick.
That'd be cool.
yeah.
So
great.
definitely going to be in contact with you as we begin to take on these next few steps.
Yeah,
But
that's no worries. Yeah, you can make pretty much. You can do a lot of different things. I mean, I have pictures to show you.
well, we could probably pull it up. Do you have a Facebook page or something? We could pull some of the stuff you guys have done.
Believe it or not, I was in IT for many years, and I don't even have a Facebook page.
Well, how about that? Would you have an Apple phone?
No, hell no. I got Android.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I like you. Android all the way.
Oh,
Well, I just know the flaws of them, and the bigger problem I always had with Apple was it's more a style thing. I think they were one of the companies that they all have their flagship. The iPhones that first came out were absolutely bulletproof. I mean, and as time moved on, they have made them cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and it's like, you know.
Well, don't worry. They're going to get more expensive with tariffs.
I'm sure, but
I
the
love
quality just went to pot. That
Hopefully
was
they make
the
'em in
horrible
Columbus
thing.
soon.
I mean, I had one
Plant
time.
down there.
$3,800
I
for
had
a
a
phone.
guy come from Iraq. His Humvee was hit with an ID. It shredded his laptop, tore it to complete pieces. The phone was just fucked. And he goes, "Can you fix it?" Because I guess he had pictures of his dad that had passed. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try it. You know what? Phone came right up. I ordered everything. The main board was still all right.
Wow.
That sucker was bulletproof. I mean, literally, and it worked great, no problems.
That's impressive.
But everything after that, they don't make them like they used to. And I mean, to be fair,
They don't make anything like they used to.
nobody
Yeah.
really does. That's why I still say the small business, the small guy like what we do, you put your heart and soul into that thing to make sure it's going to perform as it's intended and then some.
We care.
Yeah, we
care.
care.
Yeah.
That's-
Because it's our name on the product.
yeah.
Of course.
You know?
Well, for those still listening, make sure you like, share, subscribe, but make sure you guys check these guys out. Instagram, Facebook, the Oak Barrel Company, and Cashel Woodworking. Do you guys do any other social media? You guys do
Kelly
TikToks?
does the
Pinterest.
Why Not Solutions.
Why Not Solutions?
Why Not Solutions.
Okay. Now, is that a separate organization for you guys, separate company?
Yeah, it is. It's basically Kelly's. That's what she does.
Okay. And then for you, are you on any other Instagram? I'm assuming?
Instagram, Facebook, starting to get on TikTok, and
There
then the
you go.
website, casualwoodworking.com, will be launching in the next week or two. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's awesome to have you guys on. David, I mentioned it earlier before Evan so rudely interrupted. I'm sure you've got some questions for these guys.
Are you really sorry, Evan?
No.
Didn't think so.
Fuck no.
No, I'm good. Yeah, it's been interesting talking to you guys about your craft. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I sense
like
a
it.
go to work on woodworking. I'd be interested to see kind of the back, the behind the scenes stuff that you guys do. And
It's fun.
Oh, you guys would like unloading them barrels because
I'm too old for that. So
I got here. Like, I volunteer. It'll be fun.
But you know what's funny though? Chris's dad is an older guy.
My dad.
Yeah.
I'm an old guy.
Yeah, dude, you look great for 60. I guess there's something to
He's
woodworking
85.
and kind of working
He's
by
85.
yourself.
His dad is 85 and he still does it. And I don't know how many times he has tried to come up there and help us with the barrels.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you can't. You know, it's we'll
Still
get
does.
it. And
Yeah.
he still does.
Still does. Kicks ass.
Hell yeah, man.
That's my
that's
dad
awesome.
too.
That's awesome.
Hey, the longer you could do it, you do it until you can't. Because
And
when
I think
you
that's
can't,
what it is.
yeah.
What's the moral that you take away from it? You work to retire to then just kind of deteriorate for 12.8 years after 67, and then it's a lottery, right?
Yeah.
Well,
So
well-
do something that you love.
Well, I've seen people posting of people that work after retirement, and they're known